The body has less to.
Let's do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
So much stuff to get to today on the Real Jonathan Smith Show. We got Tony East joining the show in 20 minutes. We got Dave Revson from the Big Ten Network joining us at 12:40. 1:20, we got Kevin Potts. So 3 excellent guests today. We'll talk a lot of college football as it is college football prediction week. But as we do every day in the fall, we start with the Indianapolis Colts. Shane Steichen spoke to the media earlier today, talked a little bit about the preseason week 3 plan when they play at home on Saturday against the Detroit Lions. Here is Coach Steichen talking about starters playing and who's going to start at quarterback.
Starters are going to play probably about a series or two, probably 8 to 12 plays. Offense and defensive guys. The only guys that won't be playing for sure are Daniel and JT will not play. AR is going to start the game. He's going to play a quarter. Riley's going to play a quarter, and then I'm going to give opportunity to Easton Stick. I think it's important in the preseason for everyone to get an opportunity to go play. And so he's been doing a nice job, and so I think he deserves that opportunity to go out there and play with those guys.
Shane Steichen right there talking about the plan for Saturday in the Colts' final preseason game. Every starter planning on playing right now except for Jonathan Taylor and Daniel Jones. I would assume Alec Pierce is on that list as well as he continues to rehab back from his ankle. We've got audio of Coach Steichen talking about him that we'll play in just a moment. I like this plan. I think it's good to get starters out there and to have them play a little bit. It's important. It helps you find a rhythm. It helps you kind of get into your routine of like, okay, it's game day. I'm actually going to play. What time do I want to get to the facilities pregame? Going through warmups, doing all those things. It's important. A couple of drives for a nice dress rehearsal. Could something catastrophic happen on one of those drives? Yeah, but 8 to 12 plays feels like the right amount if you're going to play your starters. And I love that they're not playing Daniel Jones. Keep that man as fresh as possible. Same goes for Jonathan Taylor. They are going to play DeForest Buckner, it sounds like, which I find surprising. I figured he would have been on that list of, this guy doesn't need to play because he's DeForest Buckner coming off of neck surgery from last season. He's looked good during training camp. That's another guy that I would want to keep as fresh as possible because so much of the Indianapolis Colts' success this year is reliant on DeForest Buckner and his health and how he looks this year. So wouldn't be surprised if they ended up pulling him last minute, but makes sense to hold out Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor. I can't wait to see how the rest of these guys look. I can't wait to see how Anthony Richardson looks with these guys because that's what we're going to get to see. He's starting the game, which means he's going to be out there behind the first string offensive line, and he's going to be throwing to Keenan Allen and Josh Downs. Probably not Alec Pierce. We'll see. So we're going to get a really nice look at how he performs because, look, last week when you're playing behind the third and fourth string offensive line, it's hard to get a real nice gauge on how a guy is playing. But when you're playing behind this offensive line, we're going to get to see the full arsenal. We're going to see if he can stand in the pocket and deliver the football on time and on target like he did in that first preseason game against the Patriots. So that is the thing that I personally have circled. How does Anthony Richardson look with the starters? That's the first thing. The second thing, I cannot wait to watch Justin Wally play football. Also, can we add Charvarius Ward to the wouldn't be surprised if they actually decided not to play him list, even though he is coming back to practice this week? Either way, we're going to get to see Justin Wally. And Justin Wally lore has reached like Babe Ruth levels. It's like I never saw Babe Ruth play. You probably didn't see him play either. And, you sit back and it's just like, oh, wow. This guy's apparently amazing. I just feel like every day I'm reading about some new interception or how he had some incredible pass breakup or something like that. And we're finally going to get to lay eyes on him on an actual NFL field against actual competition, against the Lions offense that should be pretty good. No idea if they're playing starters or not. But even if they aren't, they've got some depth at their skill position. So can't wait to watch Justin Wally play real snaps in an NFL game, even if it is just the preseason for a couple of possessions. Okay, so we'll see kind of how it pans out. Chris, any big takeaways from that audio of Coach Steichen?
As far as the starters or the
Just and who are the starters that you're excited to watch play?
well, mainly just the defense. I hope that they look better than
The backups did?
Yeah, like I will feel a whole lot better about this situation once the starting defense gets out there. Not one person in particular, but I agree with you as well. And I'm excited to see a better outing from the Colts defense as a whole.
If it's not better, we're
in trouble.
We're coming back in here on Monday. We're sounding the alarm. I might be in the 5-12 boat with you. We'll see, man. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's just where it's at right now. The defense as a whole for me.
Absolutely. Matthew Borders chiming in over in the YouTube chat. Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to watch on YouTube and jump in the chat. Any play can be catastrophic, unfortunately, but I do see value in starters getting some reps before the season starts. That's how I feel about it. Like the chance of a guy tearing his ACL in a preseason game is just as likely as it is as him tearing his ACL in a joint practice. And we would never rip a coach for playing a starter in joint practice. Ultimately, this is football, and something bad can happen on every single play. It's part of why we love football. But you can't just cower in fear. But you know what? We're just not going to play our guys at all. You know, we'll just hold them out of joint practices, and it'll be fine. So there is that. Let's talk a little bit about Alec Pierce. Coach Steichen spoke to the media earlier today. Alec Pierce, he's almost back. Here is Coach Steichen giving an update on Alec Pierce's health.
He will not practice today, but he is in a really good spot. He's in a really good spot.
Expecting to practice this week?
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully, yeah. I think it's just like a ramp-up period, just like when anyone's coming off an injury. You know, get them into practice, get them into individual drills, possibly some team drills, and we'll go from there. So it'll be a ramp-up period for sure.
Coach Steichen right there talking about the Alec Pierce and his recovery. I've been saying it from the jump. He gets surgery in the offseason. They say it is a 4 to 6 month rehab process. When week 1 rolls around, it'll be about 6 months from the time that he got the surgery. He's going to play week 1. He's going to practice a little bit before the season starts. And that is the important thing for me, because so much of sports, baseball, basketball, whatever, it's about rhythm. It's about having a flow. It's about having familiarity. And when you're coming back off of an injury where you haven't really been able to do anything for the last 6 months, like Alec Pierce, then it's important to be able to get out there and put the helmet on and run routes and do one-on-ones against Sauce Gardner to feel out your ankle and actually know that you are ready to go. So love what Coach Steichen said there. It is a great sign that Alec Pierce is going to be ready for week 1. With that being said, add him to the list of starters I don't want to see on Saturday. I wish I'd heard about this last night. I'd have done that for Top 10 Tuesday. Jeez, which we're doing today. Can't wait. We're talking college football because it is college football prediction week. Dave Revson joining in 30 minutes. We are going to talk to Tony East here in about 10 minutes about the Fever, and we'll do some Pacer stuff as well as their season starts in a little over a month, which is crazy. Chris, we are almost to the best time of the year.
Dude,
I mean,
it's going to be Christmas before you know it.
Sunday, Colts football. Monday night, Fever game. Tuesday night, Pacer game. Wednesday night, date night with the wife. Thursday night football. Friday night. The Big Ten has so many teams now that they're playing games on Friday nights, which means Big Ten football Friday night. Saturday, college football. I can't wait.
Our schedules are about to be loaded. Colts play on Saturday this week.
You're right. I just mean like when the season starts and when the Pacers season starts.
Sure.
It's a nightly thing, and I'm fired up for it. The best days, I'm so serious. Sunday, Colts play at 1 o'clock. You go to the game. You hopefully watch them win. Pacers play at 5 on Sunday, and then you just walk over to Gainbridge.
Yeah, you got to love that.
It's an elite day. If you haven't done that, you absolutely should do that. I'm sure I'll hopefully be doing that a couple of times this year. We'll see.
It's almost one of the best reasons to call in sick on Monday. It's
Yeah.
like, I need a day off from my day off.
Yeah. It's like what happened? I've got sportularitis.
Yeah.
What is that? I went to the Colts and the Pacers game last night. I can't really talk.
Sports hangover.
Yeah, seriously.
Mhm.
So, yeah, and instead of waking up with a headache, you wake up with sore calves from all the walking.
It's like, I've had enough steps for 2 days. I'll be all right to take today off.
All right. Question. What is up with the Pepsi-fication of NFL uniforms? Everyone's going to this like grayish look paired with their prime color, which is blue for a lot of these teams.
Do you think it's like a budget thing? Like the NFL's kind of short on money for jerseys and uniforms this year, so that everybody gets an ugly gray color?
Yeah, it's a great question, man.
But the helmets look amazing.
The helmets do look sick. The Colts' new helmets that you said that they'll wear them at home games against divisional opponents.
Correct.
So they'll wear them 3 times this year then. And it's so the reason why it's this ugly gray is it's supposed to match the color of the anvil that they hit before the game.
That makes sense. But
It does. But just because something makes sense doesn't mean that you should follow through with it stylistically if it doesn't look good. You
I
know?
that first couple jerseys that came off the press, they were like, they can't be like, oh, this looks great. This is going to look awesome on the field. They were probably just like, we've got a lot of this material. We might as well use it kind of thing.
Yeah, it's, not my favorite uniform combo, but hey, I am not the I am not the best person to ask about style. Just not. So, new uniforms, Alec Pierce almost back. We've got Anthony Richardson starting on Saturday. We got a lot more Colt stuff that we will get to throughout the show. We got Tony East joining the show up next. We'll talk Fever and Pacers. We'll probably do a little bit of Enes Kanter stuff. I don't even know how to. The Enes Kanter stuff drives me like a little bit crazy because he's pretty clearly just like looking for attention. That's really all that he wants. He gets thrown out the other night at the Fever and Sky game. But then again, was he just standing up for his future teammates? We may never know. We won't know. We'll talk to Tony East about that in about 4 minutes.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Joined by on the Real Jonathan Smith Show, the one and only Tony East, who I'm so excited to speak to today, as I always am. Tony, you were at the softball game last night. Who was the best softball player on the field in the charity game?
Riley Leonard, easily, man. He was good enough to the point that I was looking up if he played baseball growing up in any way, and he didn't. And I learned from this exercise that not only did he not play baseball, he had a Division I basketball offer at St. Mary's. So apparently Riley Leonard is just a stud athlete. He was a beast. He turned a double play.
Oh, my gosh. That's crazy.
Only one even close to doing something like that.
Yeah.
Obi Toppin was good. No one else really stood out that much. Riley Leonard was very good, though. He would have been my MVP of the game.
Okay. I like it. I'll be honest, Tony. I was sitting here yesterday. I was like, man, if these guys wanted to win, they would have just called me. Played some college ball. I could get out there.
That's true.
And
I was going to say, before the game, Jay Huff told me he was going to hit it over the real fence, like the 400-foot fence.
Oh, no way.
And I said, no, you're not.
Yeah.
He did not.
Absolutely not.
He did hit a home run, to his credit. He did actually do that, but not that far.
I would hope so. If you're that big, you just got to find the barrel. It's going to go.
I mean, his strike zone's 6 feet tall, so it's tough for him to hit it at all.
When I was in high school, we played this school from inner city Little Rock, J.A. Fair. They had a kid at their school who played like high Division I basketball. He was 6'8". He also played baseball. And it was like him just standing. Him standing at the plate was just, it was weird, man. Because, like, you have the catcher crouched down, and it's like his glove, like, starts at his ankles. It's like, this just feels wrong. But anyway, joined by Tony East to talk Pacers and Fever. I do want to get to the Fever, but I don't think I asked you this the last time you were on. Are you surprised that the Pacers are opening their season on the road? I know Halliburton wasn't super pleased with that.
Yeah, he might have been a little too over the top with like the national TV part of it. They won 19 games last year and they play in Indiana. Their market is what it is. I think 11 national TV games is honestly about as many as I thought they would get there. But I do agree with him that it's weird that a player who was half a game from being the best player on a championship team is playing on the road to open their return game. Like, they're clearly doing no favors to marketing his return and the Pacers season in that way. And we're playing an awful team nonetheless, probably awful team nonetheless. So, yeah, I thought that was weird. But I love New Orleans, so I'm very happy that I get to go there. I have a reason to go now.
Yeah, absolutely. That is true. So it's good for you, Tony, and that's really what matters.
Selfish victory.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's right. Joined by Tony East, who does a great job covering both the Pacers and the Fever. You can follow him on X at Tony R. East. All right, so let's go to Chicago a few nights ago. Was Enes Kanter attention-seeking the other night, or was he just standing up for his future teammate? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we all know the answer is attention-seeking in every way. It's ridiculous. And the guy took a picture in front of the women's back. Like, give me a break, dude. And people knew he was coming, like, beforehand. And like, what are you doing? It was so weird. It was just so bizarre. Everything about what he's doing is bizarre. It's so ridiculous. I agree with Stephanie White. Like obviously it's our job to talk about things going on and cover them, but like that's what he's trying to have happen, So
yeah.
To what end is it not actually serving the community to like be leaning into someone else's desires? It's just very strange.
Strange thing. It is. It's we don't have to talk about this long, but it's just like you said, strange, and we can just leave that there. So the Fever's offense right now, it's insane. Caitlin Clark finally healthy. Her and Kelsey Mitchell each getting 30 the other night, which is just incredible stuff. But the problem continues to be defense. Feels like we've kind of talked about this the whole year. Why do you think the Fever's defense hasn't improved to a point where it feels like they can win a title over the course of the season?
Yeah, really good chance they end up with the best offensive rating in WNBA history and the third best net rating in the league. And everybody is going to be saying what you just said. And I will say the same thing. They don't feel like they have a title ceiling because of how bad their defense is. After that Sky game, they're down to 11th in defense in a 15-team league like that. I've said to everybody over and over, they've just got to be average. If they're average, they can probably win the whole freaking thing, but they can't get to that level for some reason. And they had 2 games on this road trip where they couldn't guard anything. In Dallas, they defended quite poorly, and the pace of that game was out of their hands. And in New York, they played a fast game, but they couldn't get stops at all and gave up 109 points. Sense, but after that New York game on Saturday night, that was the Fever's 6th loss this season in a game that they score 100 points. The other 7 playoff teams are 45-0 when they score 100 points in a game. It's just ridiculous the extent that their defense fails them, even when they're scoring at a high level in a 40-minute game. And so I don't really know the answer of the why. And I don't think they really do either, because if they had a good guess, they would do something about it. And they're always a little better after they practice, and they're always a little better, at rotations and throwing in other things when they're, playing not every other day for 10 days. They played 6 games in 10 days. So I get that. It's harder to be scheme versatile and getting better at that time. But all season, they just have communication lapses and rotation lapses. And, of course, when you have Clark and Mitchell, who are better than they were at the start of the season, but still below average defenders at the point of attack, you have some sort of ceiling, and they just have never been able to cover for that or fix things in a way that I'm not concerned. They're obviously very good. They have the 3rd best net rating in the league, but it's like they could very easily lose in the first round or win the whole thing. It all depends on how much their defense can string together anything, and they had just very rarely done that this year.
I would really like to do the thing where I'm like, I'll just turn it on when the playoffs roll around, but that doesn't really feel like an option because of all the points that you just laid out. I think it's just a personnel thing, really, more than anything else. It's kind of like going back to the old Mavericks teams when Coach Carlisle was there. It's hard to have a good defense with Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson as your 2 point of attack defenders. And that's kind of how I feel watching the Fever, where they just, and I don't know if, and my NBA brain is just go get a bunch of rim protectors and things. But I think Aaliyah Boston's a pretty good defender.
Great.
And so I feel like the problem is just personnel. Does Caitlin Clark need a summer where people treat her the way that they treated Luka a couple years ago? Everybody called him fat. Maybe. I don't. Maybe that's what she needs. I don't know. But I think it ultimately comes back to personnel, because contrary to what a lot of people on the internet seem to think, I believe that Stephanie White is a pretty good head coach.
I agree. And, people are right to criticize that she is a defensive coach who has the 11th ranked defense. But, okay, does she get no credit for the role in the offense? And if you say that the talent gets all the credit for that, which is fine, they have really good players, then great. The talent also deserves blame for the defense, right? You have to point the finger the same way, both sides of the ball, even if I get what people are saying. And so, yes, I also think she's a good coach. And honestly, one of the reasons I'm right now bullish on their playoff chances is because of what Stephanie White did with a well inferior team in last year's playoffs, right? And don't get me wrong, even if they had lost to Atlanta in the first round, they were losing with a minute to go in game 3. That would have been a 2-1 competitive series with the resources they had available, would have been fine, even if very underwhelming. And then they almost made the finals. So I'm looking forward to seeing, knock on wood, her coaching with the full complement of players in this postseason and seeing what kind of creativity she can come up with, especially if they have home court advantage against. They've beaten everybody in the playoff field except Golden State at some point. Well, they did beat Golden State. They've beaten everybody in the playoff field except Minnesota at some point this season. They still play them twice. So I think they've got a shot to do something. And I agree that she's a good, she's imperfect, but is a really good coach. And I want to see what that looks like with the full complement of players and what that can be, because there's a lot of good but flawed teams also in the playoff field.
Joined by Tony East, talking Fever. You can follow Tony on X at Tony R East. Who's your WNBA MVP this year?
Asia Wilson. I don't even think I need to give you an explanation, do I?
You don't.
At a floor of the third best offensive player alive right now, maybe fifth if you're being harsh, and the best defensive player alive, yeah, that's the MVP. It just is.
Yeah.
I have nothing to say.
It's Wemby in 3 years, maybe. We'll see. I don't know if you saw him against Serbia. Not great, but.
I did see that. It was weird. And I saw that Serbia's last possession of defense was like the most comical thing I've ever seen in my life.
That whole, the FIBA stuff is so interesting because, like, I didn't know that it was happening until I saw the highlights. I was like, that would have been really cool to watch. But hey, it's fine. I do want to go back to this MVP thing though, because, and I just, I'm Tony. I'm trying not to do this thing where, because I do think that there's people who do this, where you have people like me who watch a lot of the NBA, and then we move over and we watch the WNBA, and we see some discourse, and I'm like, yeah, these people just started watching basketball, it feels like. And I've seen a lot of comments on Kelsey Mitchell being the Fever's best player, and I think her MVP odds are actually higher than Caitlin's right now. I just find that to be ridiculous because Caitlin Clark's so clearly the engine of that team. What do you make of, and I don't want to do this thing where we kind of like pit them against each other because I feel like a lot of people kind of try to do that whenever they discuss the two. But what do you make of just who's the best player on this team, and what is their relationship like? Because every time I see them, they seem like they're pretty cool.
They're very close. They've really harnessed the Steph and Clay dynamic, which is something they actually have been studying for like years at this stage. But I think Caitlin's better than Kelsey, and Kelsey's a better scorer. I mean, right this second, like the last 2 months of our collective existence on planet Earth, Kelsey Mitchell is the best scorer in the league. Like I don't even think it's disputable. This is the best run of scoring a player has ever had in one season, and it's like undeniable. Even on her bad nights, she had 7 points at halftime on Sunday in a 30-point game. Like, she is so capable of just these, like, where did that even come from? Like 11 points in 2 minutes just out of completely nowhere. It shifts the whole game. The Fever can go from down to tied or tied to up 15 just from that so fast. Like, I don't want to diminish that at all. She's going to be at worst 6th or 7th in probably MVP and potentially first team All-W again. But yes, I think Caitlin Clark's the Fever's best offensive player. She also is averaging a ridiculous number of points and leads the league in assists again. I think she's the only player over 8, and she's actually averaging a career low in assists, which is crazy with how good her passing is. But her 3 balls up, she's got this nice mid-range shot now in her arsenal that, especially from the right side, feels like it's been going in every time recently. And, to her credit, I know everybody wants her to just bomb from 3 because it's exciting and she's good at it, but this is her 3-point attempt rate, like how often or what percent of her shots are from deep, is below 50% this year, right? So she's taking more 2s than 3s, which is not what you think of with her, but it's really working. Her efficiency is as high as it's ever been, and she's shooting very well from basically all over the floor. I bet at her peak powers of her life, that ratio will probably be like 55% 3s, but right now she's figured out how to just blow by players and get to the cup and finish inside, and it's really impressive. And so to me, I mean, she might be the best offensive player alive right now. And, that I think she is the team's MVP, especially recently when she's, like you said, gotten healthier. But they're both obviously terrific. But the way that Caitlin's game has kind of evolved from what it used to be already and how she's added this 2-point game at 53% on 2s, it is just so impressive. And she's getting way deeper in the paint. So, yes, she is, to me, their best offensive player and player.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I say this a lot whenever we're talking hoops, and it's one of the reasons why I'm excited about Zubac with the Pacers. Like, spacing starts at the rim, and offense is just so much easier if you have a guard who can just get to the rim at will. And that, to your point, is something that Caitlin Clark has done a really great job of this year. It's part of why her assist numbers are so high, because whenever you get to the rim, it just makes things easier for everybody else. Last thing here for you, Tony, and I'll let you go. So Chris and I have started this new trend where before every Indiana Fever game, we set the incident line at 1.5 because it feels like there's at least one incident that happens every game.
Always something.
So the Fever's next game's on Friday. They've got the Connecticut Sun. Line's at 1.5. I'm going to take the under just because the Sun aren't very good. I feel like this should be a pretty tame game. You take an over or over 1.5 incidents against the Sun on Friday.
Not only do the Suns stink, one of their best players, Layla Lacan, has already been her contract is suspended because she's going to play in the World Cup for France. So they're even a worse version of the Connecticut Sun already. The Fever should walk right through them, and I will predict under for that game if they play very well. I mean, the Chicago game looked like it was about to be without incident, and then it became, of course, something else. The New York game, our shoes are Liberty colors. Like, oh my gosh, something every time. I will take the under against Connecticut, but you're right to set the line above 1. It's just there's always a chance for shenanigans.
There absolutely is. Absolutely. What are you working on right now with your writing and podcasting?
Yeah, talked to a lot of Pacers players yesterday, so some stories to chew through there in terms of off-season stuff and the team working out in LA together last week and some injury stuff. Of course, right about the softball game itself. So lots to get to, lots to chew on.
Sounds good, Tony. Thanks for your time, man.
Of course, thanks for having me again.
You got it. That is Tony East. Check him out on X at Tony R East. Does a great job covering both the Indiana Pacers and the Indiana Fever. You can read him at Forbes.com, Circle City Spin and the 9 Sports. Again, does a great job covering the Pacers and the Fever. We've got Dave Revson from the Big Ten Network set to join us coming up here at 12:40. And if you are looking to assist those that were impacted by the floods throughout Indiana, please log on to indiessportsticket.com. There's a link there that you can click, and it'll take you to another site where you can make a difference. So hopefully, everybody that was impacted by the floods. Does Gary have power yet? Do we know?
Not sure. I haven't heard an update about Gary.
Okay, I haven't seen anything on kind of the Northwest Indiana stuff either. So hopefully all that, though, is getting sorted. We'll have Dave Revson from the Big Ten Network join us in about 4 minutes.
it may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show as college football prediction week rolls on. We've got Dave Revson from the Big Ten Network joining us now. Dave, what's going on? Thanks for taking a few minutes with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure, Jonathan. Good to be on with you.
Appreciate it. So let's start with the big news coming out of the Big Ten today. They have formed this new rule where NFL players can't come back to college. Can't believe they even had to make a rule for that, but it's fine. My question is, these court rulings seem to override every rule that the NCAA or these conferences seem to make up. How do you think that rule holds up, just kind of knowing that these players are probably going to go back to court and sue again?
Yeah, I haven't really read a whole lot about, today. So I don't really, I don't want to kind of speak out of school. I haven't been able to speak to anyone about exactly what it means, but I feel like there's not a whole lot of appetite among fans to see players coming from the NFL and then playing college football. So I just kind of, without getting into the specifics of the rule and whether or not it's going to hold up or any of that, I just don't know enough. I would just say I feel like it's a step in the right direction. I just don't think this is what people want to see, Jonathan. I think they want to know, and just being around camps this last 3 weeks and talking to coaches, the coaches just want to know like who can and can't be on their roster, right? Like that's all they want is just some sort of an understanding of what players are eligible and what players aren't eligible to play. So I think anything, without getting into the specifics, just because I haven't been able to kind of source it or talk to people today, but without getting into the specifics, I just think like we're at a spot where this is a step in the right direction of kind of where we need to go.
Absolutely. So last week, Dave, we had Coach Odom on from Purdue, and just in talking to him, he sounds like he likes his team a lot more this year than he did last year. It sounds like a lot of improvements have been made. I know that you were up in West Lafayette over the weekend, I believe, to watch them scrimmage. What were kind of your takeaways from watching them play?
Well, I agree with Coach Odom. Yeah, we were there on Saturday night. We watched scrimmage, and they're clearly better. I mean, we saw them in a really tough spot last year, Jonathan. We saw an earlier scrimmage, so it was maybe the first full weekend of August, maybe it was the second weekend of August, but it was a couple weeks earlier in camp, and it was rough. I mean, and Coach Odom kind of was laughing about it with me when we were up there this weekend. He said, "Man, we couldn't even get lined up," and he wasn't that far off. I mean, they had 50 guys who joined the team after spring practice ended last year. Because remember, there were 2 portal windows then. Now we're down to 1 portal window. And so most of their roster was, or about half of their roster were guys who hadn't been there for spring practice. And that's just a really tough way to play. So I think they're way ahead of where they were. No question about that. Is that good enough to make a sizable jump? I think we'll see. But they definitely look better on both lines of scrimmage. They had some guys who were hurt last year, like Denilo Morsette's a guy who I think can really help them, who's going to be back. I liked some of their wide receivers. They had kid from Penn, BC Owens, who made a couple nice catches while we were there. Assad Wassine, who came in from FAU, I believe. So I just think like skill position wise, they're a little bit better. And we'll see, but they looked more like a Big Ten team, both in terms of kind of physically along the lines of scrimmage and just kind of having their act together and kind of everyone being on the same page. And again, I really don't think that was Barry Odom's fault last year. I mean, I just think it was a function of kind of how the calendar works, but they definitely seem to have things kind of, more together this year. And I know he's really encouraged. I think the schedule's challenging. That weight gain is really huge. Like, to me, if you win that game and you go out to UCLA at 2-0, I think you're feeling pretty good. You know, if you beat Indiana State, lose to Wake, and then you go out to UCLA for an 11 o'clock Eastern time kick, and then you got to come back for Notre Dame, and then you go to Illinois. Like I just feel like it can spiral a little bit. So I think that Wake game takes on heightened importance for them, even more so than just a normal game would.
I agree, just because their non-conference schedule, you know, it's the total opposite of Indiana. Like, you've got Wake Forest, who was pretty solid in the ACC last year, and then of course you've got Notre Dame as well. So that, like you said, that Wake Forest game going to be really important for them before they go out to UCLA. Who UCLA I just find fascinating this year. Everybody seems to be on board with Coach Chesney coming over from James Madison. What are you kind of expecting from UCLA in Chesney's first year?
Well, I'm with you, Jonathan. I mean, I am really interested in them. Unfortunately, so I saw 13 of the 18 teams in preseason camp. UCLA is one of the teams that I did not see. I've spent a lot of time, you know, around Bob Chesney at media days, and then spoke to him, you know, right when he got the job. And like everyone else, I'm really impressed by him. I actually really like their roster. I mean, they've got a lot of production coming back. You know, you have Nico Iamaleava back. Dean Kennedy was his offensive coordinator at JMU, and they were really explosive there. And I feel like they have a chance to do the same. You know, you look at the portal pickups are really good. They brought in Wayne Knight from JMU, who was a fabulous running back a season ago, one of the better backs in the country in terms of his production. I just like a lot of stuff that they've got, you know, kind of if you go through the roster. The offensive line, they've got a lot of guys who played a lot of football. It is along the lines of what was done at Indiana, you know, and again, I think, you know, Kurt Cignetti is a unicorn, and we can talk about IU. I'm sure we will. And the JMU thing, I think, makes it almost oversimplifies it, but it's the same idea of what Sig did, which is you bring both your coordinators with you from winning program. You bring a lot of the players that helped you have that success, and you kind of see whether you can jumpstart it. I think their schedule is favorable. Oregon is the only one of the CFP teams from the Big Ten from last year that they play. They play a lot of teams that I would think are going to be in their neighborhood in the Big Ten, you know, Purdue and Maryland and Wisconsin and Michigan State and Minnesota. So, you know, I feel like the schedule is in place for him to have a really good year in year one and kind of get the thing jump started. I mean, there's no reason you can't win at UCLA. Like, UCLA's got a lot going for it. So we'll see. But I share your interest in them, and I share the enthusiasm that a lot of people have, again, without having seen them in the way that I've seen some others in camp.
Absolutely. Winning at UCLA, I don't want to say it should be easy, because I know their academic standard, I believe, is a little bit higher than some other schools. But I don't know. If I was 18 years old, moving to Los Angeles sounds pretty great, honestly. Joined by Dave Revson from the Big Ten Network. I do want to talk about Indiana here, and I know there's a ton of excitement around here. You know, talk about going back to back in those things. I don't know about that. My one question for the team this year is, you know, Fernando Mendoza last year just seemed to make every single play that he had to. It was pretty, you know, magical to watch. And this year, like, I have no doubt that the Hoosiers defense is going to be good. They're going to be able to run the ball, bringing in guys like Turbo Richards and things. But I do have a lot of questions about Josh Hoover, the transfer quarterback from TCU. How do you feel about Indiana this year and the quarterback spot?
Well, Hoover was certainly good the day we were there. You know, it's just one day, so you never know. I will say, you know, one of the examples I always cite, we were joking with Cignetti when we visited with him in his office before practice, was when we were there 2 years ago. I mean, Curtis Rourke was awful. He had a terrible practice, to the extent that we really came out of there thinking that their best option at quarterback was Taven Jackson. So it's really, I guess what I'm saying is, man, you know, we parachute in for 1 day of practice, and it's just really hard to draw as meaningful conclusions as you'd want to, particularly on QB play, because, a few throws one way or the other can kind of, get you, can maybe over influence an opinion would be the best way to put it. But I thought Hoover was really good. I love the wide receivers. I mean, Marsh is fabulous. Charlie Becker's, kind of an all-American caliber guy. The transfer they got from Tulane, Shaz Preston had a really nice day. So I like what they've got. I mean, but the thing that blew me away was the defensive line. I mean, that group is absolutely stacked. It seemed a lot of that was premised around Kellen White and Stephen Daly playing too. And I know kind of we got this recent ruling which would perhaps preclude that from happening. I mean, I think we're going to, whether or not they try to get some sort of an emergency stay or something coming up here in the next few days. But that front seven is fabulous with, Ndukwe and Landino, and Tyree Tucker was unblockable the day we were there. I mean, he is so good. So, I think I look at IU and I feel really good about him. If I'm a Hoosier fan, I think the schedule's pretty favorable. You get Ohio State at home. You don't have to play Oregon. So, I like the fact, again, I know people are going to mock the non-conference schedule, and that's maybe a conversation for another day as to what they should do with their non-conference. I do think that, if I'm a season ticket holder, maybe I want, just a higher profile game. I understand that. But it does give them the ability to kind of ramp up with the quarterback and to have 3 games that you're almost certainly going to win to kind of get everyone on the same page. And so, you do in life what you're incentivized to do. And I think what Indiana's learned in these last couple of years is there's no real incentive in this current structure to play a more challenging non-conference schedule. And so they're going to do what they're going to do and figure out a way to get themselves back to the playoff. But I looking at this roster, I'd feel really, really good about it.
I think that's a great point on teams doing what they're incentivized to do, because I mean you're exactly right, and I know everybody makes fun of Texas for this talking point, but if they play Ohio instead of Ohio State last year and they go 10-2, they're probably in the playoff, right? And so
Yes.
I think it's a great point, and I wish that I feel like the committee over the years, their rankings really look more like standings a lot of the time. And I think until that changes and they weigh strength of schedule a little bit more, there's no point in playing these tougher non-conference teams. I mean, even looking at Purdue, because when, all the Indiana scheduling stuff came out, my thing was like, if I was Purdue, I would cross out the games against Wake Forest and Notre Dame, because if you win your 3 non-conference games, I think 3 conference wins for Purdue is really possible. Like, that puts you in a bowl game, and then we can finally kind of talk about there being some real momentum up there. But instead, you're going to play Wake Forest and Notre Dame, and you could, go 1-2 in your non-conference and really struggle. So I agree. Like, there's no point outside of making your season ticket holders happy, but they're going to be happy if you go 11-1. So I don't know.
I'm with you, Jonathan. I mean, we were talking about this when we were in West Lafayette. I mean, as we wrapped up the show the other day, Coach DiNardo was talking a bit about the schedule. And I think this is something for Tommy McClellan to look at. This is what Purdue has done historically. There are some financial reasons for doing it this way, right? I mean, if in playing the schedule that Indiana plays, you're buying all of those games. Whereas when you play power conference teams, generally do a home and home, and those aren't buy games. And so, that's a lot less expensive of a way to schedule. But I look at playing 11 power conference teams, and I just don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. Because as you said, like your goal at Purdue, at least, in the immediate term is, hey, how can we figure out a way to get ourselves back to being a postseason team? And you're not that far removed from having real success. I mean, you're 4 years removed from playing in the Big Ten championship game. It's a proud program. So I don't look at Purdue and say, they can't get it back. I mean, historically they've been a far better football program than IU has. Yeah. But I just think you need to schedule strategically. And for years and years, I just haven't understood the scheduling philosophy for Purdue outside of, financially, I can understand where it makes more sense. And Notre Dame, look, that's a historic series. And so I understand having Notre Dame on the schedule. I really don't get having Wake on the schedule. That it doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
Yeah, I don't really get it either, Dave. Again, joined by Dave Revson from the Big Ten Network. Last thing for you, Dave, and I'll let you go. So I feel like the top three teams in the Big Ten are pretty clear: Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana. And then there's this group of, I've got it at 5. I'm sure other people have it at 4, of like Penn State, USC, Michigan, Washington, and Iowa. Of those 5 teams, I'm kind of leaning Penn State just because they don't have to play any of the big 3 schools this year. But kind of in that second tier of the Big Ten, which one of those teams do you like the most?
I think Penn State has the easiest schedule by far. So to your point, like kind of as you look at getting the best record out of your team, like I certainly agree with that. And like if you swap schedules of USC and Penn State, I mean, I'd say USC. Like I like USC's roster more than I like Penn State's roster. I mean, I just think you have more proven commodities there. But man, their schedule is so tough. I mean, they play all the CFP teams from last year. You know, the middle of that schedule is a total bear. So talent-wise, like I might lean USC. Record-wise, I could see leaning Penn State. I think Washington is in a really good spot too, because to me, their 2 toughest games are at the end of the year with Indiana and Oregon. And so you have a chance to kind of be your best at that point in the season. I really like their roster a lot. I mean, you know, Damon Williams is fabulously talented. I think the offensive line is going to be significantly better. I know Jed's really excited about that group. And then they made a big jump defensively in year 1 with Ryan Walters, the former Purdue coach, as their defensive coordinator. I know he feels really good about what they've got on that side of the ball. So Washington to me is one that people aren't talking about as much as maybe they should be, but I think could have a really good year.
Yeah, Washington, look, I think Coach Fish is excellent. Just seeing the way that he rebuilt at Arizona, like, and then he goes up to Washington. It's like, yeah, like that should translate. Obviously, he gets in Damon Williams, who's, Lane Kiffin tried to poach him for a reason, right? So obviously a really good quarterback up there. Dave, are you guys done traveling around to camps? What's kind of coming up for you next?
We are done, Jonathan. We got back yesterday. Iowa was our final stop. So I saw 13 of the 18 in the preseason, which was a ton of fun. But glad to be back. And yeah, so we start up our kind of normal cadence really next week. We get back to hour-long Big Ten Todays, 5 days a week. And then we've got a doubleheader Thursday night. We got a game Friday, and then a full slate of games on that Saturday of Labor Day weekend. So, next week is kind of when we get things going in earnest, and it's really exciting to be back.
Absolutely. Dave, thanks for your time.
All right, Jonathan, take care, man.
See you. That is Dave Revson. You can catch him on the Big Ten Network, covering them all year long. So, oh, man. Love Dave. Great guy. Hour number 2 coming up next. We got Kevin Potts joining the show at 1:20. We will continue to talk Colts preseason at 1 o'clock. But first, Chris has your sports update.
Thanks, Jonathan. Here's what's trending this hour. The Colts, they officially unveiled their quote-unquote anvil strike rivalry alternate uniforms this morning. We'll be able to see those in action in Week 3 when the Colts host the Texans at Lucas Oil Stadium on September 27th. Shane Steichen spoke to the media this morning about who we'll see play on Saturday as far as starters in the preseason finale against the Lions.
Starters are going to play probably about a series or 2, probably 8 to 12 plays. Offense and defensive guys. The only guys that won't be playing for sure are Daniel and JT will not play. AR is going to start the game. He's going to play a quarter. Riley's going to play a quarter, and then I'm going to give opportunity to Easton Stick. I think it's important in the preseason for everyone to get an opportunity to go play. And so he's been doing a nice job, and so I think he deserves that opportunity to go out there and play with those guys.
CBS 4 will be the place to go to watch that on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Pacers Foundation held their inaugural charity softball game at Victory Field last night, where Tyrese Halliburton's team was victorious over Daniel Jones's team with a final score of 28-8. But it's all in good fun, though, all for a great cause, as the event raised over $250,000 for the Pacers Foundation, with 100% of the proceeds going directly to the Drive and Dash food program, which provides groceries to youth and families around the city. That's what's trending this hour. More of The Real Jonathan Smith Show in 4 minutes on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430.
Let's do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Hour number 2 of the Real Jonathan Smith Show getting underway. We got Kevin Potts joining the show here in about 20 minutes. Can't wait for that. Anthony Richardson starting on Saturday with the rest of the starters, minus Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor. in the Colts preseason game against the Lions. Alec Pierce should be back for week 1. They're hoping that he practices this week. Before we continue the show, really quickly, just wanted to mention this. Matt Baer, for those who don't know who that is, he did traffic in the mornings and in the afternoons over at WIBC. I previously worked there before. Geez, how many years ago was that? I worked on Tony Katz's morning show. Saw Matt Baer every single day, rolling at 5 a.m. You look over, it's Matt Baer, just exhausted because it's 5 a.m. But he was just the kind of person that always had a smile on his face. He was incredibly positive. He sadly passed away on Sunday, and he was just a really kind human being. Like I don't know how to say this without it maybe sounding a little weird, but I think sometimes we have opportunities to work with people that have an influence on us in a way where it's like, man, like I'm excited to go to work tomorrow because I get to see this person. And I think that when I was there over at IBC, that's who Matt Baer was. Everybody liked him. Everybody wanted to hang around him because he was just a really, really good and genuine person who really wanted the best for everyone that he interacted with. So I'm certainly praying for him, for his family and his friends and everybody over at WIBC after his passing. So I just wanted to say that to start our number 2. So let's get to college football because it is college football prediction week on the Real Jonathan Smith Show. I hate going from that to college football. It just feels incorrect, but it's fine. So at the end of the year, 4 college football players will be sent to New York as they announce who is going to win the Heisman Trophy. We're going to have Kevin Potts on at 120. He told me he's got some Heisman takes. And so I'm like, hey, man, sign me up. Sounds good. So last night I sat down. These are my put it in pen, put it in stone, wherever you want. Put it on a stone tablet. That'd be cool. Chris, can we get a stone tablet engraved with my 4 Heisman finalists names on them? We can hang it up like right there.
You got it.
It'll be great. So my here are my 4. Jeremiah Smith will be in New York, wide receiver from Ohio State. I don't think he needs any sort of introduction. He is the best player in college football. He was the best player in college football last year as well. Everybody knows it. That dude is a certified stud. He should have been a finalist over Julian Sayin last year, who got the call to New York because, for some reason, Heisman voting has become incredibly biased towards quarterbacks. How about we just give it to the guy that deserves it? And that is the best player in college football. That is what the award is for. And that is what Jeremiah Smith is going to be for the 2nd year in a row. Again, he should have been a finalist last year over Ohio State starting quarterback Julian Sayin because Jeremiah Smith is the reason why Ohio State's passing attack is as dominant as it is. There is not a defense or a secondary or one specific cornerback in all of college football that can guard that man. Jeremiah Smith could walk into an NFL locker room today and be the best wide receiver on half of the teams in the NFL. And I don't think that's a hyperbolic statement to make at all. That guy can do absolutely everything. He's got the speed one over the top. He's got great ball skills. He separates on underneath routes. He makes plays after the catch. Jeremiah Smith absolutely going to finish the year in New York as a Heisman finalist, but we'll see if the quarterback-happy Heisman voters go with somebody else, like Arch Manning. Arch Manning is the starting quarterback at Texas, if you didn't know, nephew of Indianapolis Colts great Peyton Manning. And I think he gets there because he's the starting quarterback at Texas, and there's a great chance Texas wins 10 or 11 games and winds up in the college football playoff. And Arch, if they do that, is going to be the reason why they do that. They've got real weapons. They go out in the portal. They had Cam Coleman. If you don't know who that is, he's the second best receiver in college football. Dude's a stud. The problem is he's been stuck at Auburn. That's been the issue. So he's now at Texas. They've got some real weapons. The question is going to be, does the Texas offensive line hold up? That was their problem at the beginning of last year. If it holds up, Arch Manning's going to have a great chance to lift the trophy. I know everybody's down on Steve Sarkisian because he hasn't won a national title yet, but he's still a good play caller. He's still a good play designer as well. If the offensive line in front of Arch Manning is good, he's going to put up huge numbers. He had a nice finish to last year's season, and if he keeps it rolling, he will find himself in New York at the end of the year. Third, Dante Moore, another guy who could potentially be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. This is a guy who was going to be the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft this last year if he had decided to come out and, he decided to go back to Oregon because he'd rather play in Eugene than for the New York Jets. Smart guy. So last year, if you look at his numbers, they were slightly lesser than Fernando Mendoza's. They both threw for about the same yardage. The difference ended up being in touchdowns. Mendoza had like 49 total touchdowns on the year. Just a stupid number. And Dante Moore put up similar numbers to Mendoza despite his best receivers being hurt for the majority of the year. Obviously having a guy like Kenyon Sadiq, first-round pick by the New York Jets at tight end, that obviously helps. But if his weapons stay healthy this year, because Oregon did a really nice job in the portal, then his numbers should be better, and that'll give him a chance to be a finalist. Look, winning the Heisman Trophy really boils down to team success in a lot of ways. If you win 10-plus games and you're the starting quarterback, you're probably going to have a chance to hoist the Heisman Trophy, and I think Dante Moore falls in that as well. And then the final finalist, I'm going to go with Josh Hoover. I have a lot of questions about Josh Hoover and how he's going to look. He's going to be better. I certainly feel that way this year compared to how he performed during his time at TCU, just because he's going to have a run game that he can rely on. He's going to have a defense that, gets him the football back quickly. So I have no question that he's going to put up numbers and that Indiana is going to win 10-plus games. And the question is really going to be the interceptions. If he can keep the turnovers down, this has recipe for a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback all over it. Mobile enough that he can run. He'll probably have 5 or 6 rushing touchdowns on the year. He'll throw for 3,500 yards. He'll throw 35 touchdowns. He's going to put up monster numbers, and part of that is the schedule. I think the only 2 real defenses that they face this year are going to be Michigan and Ohio State. And if he plays well against those teams, like Mendoza did last year against the better defenses that IU saw, then Josh Hoover is going to have an excellent opportunity to hoist the Heisman Trophy at the end of the year. So those are the 4 guys. Put it in stone. Those are the 4 guys that I like to finish the year in New York with a chance to win the Heisman. If I had to pick a Heisman winner, I'm going to go Arch Manning. I think name really carries weight. He'd be the first Manning, I believe, to win a Heisman. Peyton didn't win it when he was at Tennessee. Eli didn't win one either. I don't think Archie Manning, the granddad here, I don't think he made one or won one. I don't think so. That could be wrong though. Anyway, so if I had to fully commit to who I think is going to win, I guess I'll take Arch, and we'll see how things go from there. But I do have a few dark horses as well. Some other guys that if they wound up in New York, I wouldn't be surprised. John Mateer needs to be on the list, starting quarterback at Oklahoma. He's gone viral recently because the dude's absolutely jacked. I mean, just absolutely ripped. So, good for him. But he's a guy at Oklahoma that put up really nice numbers last year and, missed a couple of games. It's kind of surprising that Oklahoma made the playoff, given that he shattered his thumb. He's back. He's healthy. Could have another really nice year. I've got Hollywood Smothers on the list. That's the starting running back at Texas. Here's the thing. I felt bad because 3 of my 4 finalists were, quarterbacks, and I wanted to include some non-quarterbacks that I think are going to have some really nice years. Hollywood Smothers at Texas, transfer from North Carolina State, is on that list. Turbo Richards, starting running back at Indiana. I think the problem for him in getting to New York is that Indiana's got 3 or 4 running backs that they can hand the ball off to. And when your stable's that deep, it just makes things easier, or it makes it tougher to get to New York because you just don't have enough carries. So that's kind of my concern for Turbo Richards and Hollywood Smothers. They've got other good running backs on their team. I'm going to throw Ryan Williams in here. He is a junior. He was a freshman. He was the 17-year-old freshman at Alabama, and that should immediately tell you who he is. He had a bit of a drop problem last year, but he's back. It's year 3. If he can just figure out the drops, he's going to quickly ascend back to the top of college football. So I think he deserves to be on the list. But here's my favorite dark horse. It's Jaden Maiava. He's playing for Lincoln Riley, who is, only coached not 1, not 2, but 3 Heisman winning quarterbacks: Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield, and Kyler Murray. He just has a knack for creating Heisman winners. And Jaden Maiava is back. We had Dave Revson on in that last segment, and he talked about how much he liked USC's roster this season. And it's a really good roster. It's really talented. They did well in the portal. They've got the number 1 freshman class in the country. And it's also Lincoln Riley. They're going to score points. Jaden Maiava is going to put up numbers. The question is really going to be, do they win enough games for him to get consideration? Because that schedule is absolutely brutal. They've got Indiana's on the schedule. They got to go to Penn State. They play Oregon. They play Ohio State. They play Michigan as well. I mean, it's a gauntlet for USC this year. And if they find a way to survive it, Jaden Maiava is going to have an excellent chance of finishing the year in New York. Chris, I know you're not a huge college football guy. Do you have a Heisman prediction?
I'm not familiar enough with the names that you named outside of Arch Manning. So short answer, no. But
you don't know who Jeremiah Smith is?
I'm not familiar. I'm sorry. I've not gotten into anything college football outside of Indiana for a long time, and even I couldn't tell you a lot of the players that play on it. You know what I mean? But this year's gonna be different.
You're gonna turn on when you watch Ohio State this year. It's gonna take you about 3 snaps of Ohio State's offense to be like, oh, that's Jeremiah Smith.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it sounds familiar. Like I watched the bowl games and the national championship, the road to that, and everything else, but not like the regular season. But I'm gonna get familiar with these guys. But I mean, early prediction, very amateur one, is Arch Manning. That's because I've heard of him. You know what I mean? So there you go. Do with that what you will.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Arch Manning's a safe bet. It is. We're going to have Kevin Potts joining the show here in about 3 minutes. We will continue the Heisman talk as we get you ready for the upcoming college football season. Starts on Saturday. I can't wait. I'm fired up for it. Kevin Potts joins the show in 3 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show. We're just rolling along today. Tony East on at 12:20, Dave Revson from the Big Ten Network at 12:40, and now we bring in Kevin Potts from the Kevin Potts NFL and NFL Draft Breakdowns Substack. Kevin, my guy, what is going on, man? How are you?
I'm good. Just a couple days away from start of college football season. Weather's starting to go a little bit cooler, so can't be more excited.
The weather is starting to get a little bit cooler, which is nice. I just, my wife, my poor wife, was like, Jonathan, what do you want to do on Saturday? I was like, at noon we've got North Carolina and TCU. At 1 o'clock we got a Colts preseason game. She was okay. Well, what about at night? 10:30 we got Memphis and UNLV. That's a pretty big one. So sorry.
Yeah, the week 0 was a little tougher to sell. Yeah, I gotta watch old Bill Belichick try to revive his career in Dublin, and then watch some non-power 4 football at the crack of dawn. But hey, we all got to be there.
That's right. That's right. We've been waiting for this. You can't waste a Saturday. They're way too precious. So we're doing college football prediction week this week, and so yesterday I gave a national championship prediction. We can get into that if you want. I also today gave my prediction for who I think the 4 Heisman finalists are going to be. I've got Jeremiah Smith. I think he should win the award because he is the best player in college football, but Heisman voters love quarterbacks. That's probably not going to happen. After that, Arch Manning, I went Josh Hoover and Dante Moore with an honorable mention of Jaden Maiava, who I almost put in over Josh Hoover. What do you make of that list?
Yeah, I think that's probably around where I fall too. I think Arch and Dante Moore are probably two easiest. We talk about the fame that they have coming up last year, what they mean as draft prospects, programs they played for. I think there's always going to be one non-quarterback. I think Jeremiah Smith's probably going to be the favorite. A guy like Cam Coleman could, but we talked about Arch Manning already, so maybe that might be a little difficult. Maybe the sleeper for the non-quarterback, in my opinion, be one of the running backs. I really like Jaden Baugh out of Florida. Maybe they don't get enough hype as a team, but him being the best and probably only playmaker on that roster, I wonder if he gets those raw counting stats where he gets fourth in the voting, but he gets invited along too. The guy outside of, I think, he's a bigger name, but the ones you mentioned that I really like is Gary Mensah, who transferred from Duke into Miami. I think we've seen now for back-to-back years with both Carson Beck and Cam Ward, is this Miami program is putting guys in a position to succeed. They have a lot of talent, both at the offensive line, receiver, running back. I don't think he's going to be lacking for weapons. And I just trust kind of that program, especially with an ACC schedule, that he's going to put up numbers and probably be in the postseason. And that checks a lot of boxes to potentially get invited to the award ceremony.
Darian Mensah is a really good pick. Arch Manning, though, not the favorite. Neither is Dante Moore. And this is a guy that I probably should have included, but I'm a hater, so I didn't. CJ Carr is the favorite. And that makes a lot of sense to me because you mentioned Miami with the ACC schedule can't be any easier than Notre Dame's schedule, whose toughest game coincidentally is Miami. And I find Notre Dame so fascinating this year just because so much of winning the Heisman is about like being at the center of attention. And if you've only got one big game, there's only one opportunity for a Heisman moment. Whereas when you look at Mendoza last year, it's the Ohio State game, the fourth quarter drive against Penn State, and the response after the pick six against Oregon. Like those are the three moments that you point to where it's like that's your Heisman guy. I just don't know if CJ Carr is going to have enough opportunities to have those moments. What do you think about that?
I agree. I think his schedule's almost too easy, like you mentioned. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of games for him to really showcase that type of stuff. And I don't know if the stats are good. Like, this is a Notre Dame team that probably going to have a good line. They run the ball. I think that defense is going to be awesome. I think there's a good chance they just beat too many teams on their schedule by too many points. where Carr is an actually better real life quarterback, and they're excited about him going to the playoffs. But you're looking at a 2,800-yard passing season because they pulled him in the third quarter on a third of their games, and you just don't have the Heisman moment, like you mentioned, or the raw counting stats to get invited to a ceremony, even if the Notre Dame season maybe ends up being undefeated going into the playoffs.
Joined by Kevin Potts, writer of the Kevin Potts NFL and NFL Draft Breakdowns Substack. You can follow him on X at Kevin Potts06. So the Heisman stuff is interesting, and a lot of it, just like I said earlier, just kind of comes down to being on really good teams. I kind of want to transition now. I think there are 7 teams in college football this year where, when I look at their roster, I think, okay, they can win a national title. You know, Indiana, Miami, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, and Texas. And then there are like a couple extra teams in there, like LSU, if everything works out, we'll see. Maybe Oklahoma, if they can figure out how to run the ball consistently. I think, we had Tom Luganbill on yesterday. He made a really appealing case for Alabama. Who are the teams that you really like to maybe win the national title this year?
Yeah, I think it has to start with one of the SEC or Big Ten. I think we've seen over the past couple of years that we're basically picking from that crop of the teams to be favorites. I think you mentioned all of them: Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State out of the Big Ten. I think Texas and Georgia are the 2 that I like at SEC. I think you could probably find a way to argue for all 5 of those teams. I maybe lean Texas because I've talked on the show before. I really like Arch. I think they have talent on both sides of the ball. And I think Sark, maybe he's not an elite coach. I still think he's a very good one. But you could argue probably for any of those 5. When you get outside of that, we just talked a little about Mensa. I do like Miami. I trust them a lot. I think Notre Dame is probably going to sleepwalk into a spot. So just getting into that dance helps. The other team is Texas Tech. I don't think I would pick them to win it. But when you talk about the odds of them being in the dance, and that's really all it's about. Can you get there? Because anything can happen in a couple games, especially if they have a really good defense. We talked a lot about Sorsby over the summer. What does it mean for the quarterback position? X, Y, and Z. I think this schedule with the Big 12 that I just don't really think is going to challenge them, they probably walk their way into the playoffs. And when you have an elite defense, even if there are some holes, it's probably a team that we should talk about more in terms of what their long-term goals are, even if they're not the sexiest, just because I think their floor to be involved come January is so high.
That's a great point on Tech, and they are in the running to maybe grab Thomas Castellanos. I don't know if he's better than Will Hammond, who I think I like him more than everybody else, apparently. That's kind of what it feels like. I thought he played pretty well when he was called upon last year as a younger player. That's a 4-star guy out of East Texas, if I remember correctly. So whether it's Will Hammond or not, like, or Castellanos, I think it's a great point. Like, they're going to be there. And the Big 12 is interesting. So, Kevin, whenever I do my prep, I always chase a rabbit. It happens. I found myself 7 articles deep on Houston last night and what they've got going on over there. A team that went 10-3 last year. BYU's got Bear Bachmeier back and LJ Martin. I can't remember if that's that is the BYU back. And so with that being said, you're right. Like that like they've got everybody back except for the quarterback. They did a great job in the portal, adding some explosiveness on outside. They've got to replace a lot of production on the defensive line. It seems like they did that when you look at their portal class. And then with the exception of Jacob Rodriguez, everybody in their back 7 on defense is back. And so the defense should be really good. The question is just, how much do you like Will Hammond or Thomas Castellanos? Because it seems like they have everything else.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I would be more towards what Hammond has shown us over the past year or 2. I think Castellanos, we kind of know what he is. I think he's a fun player, but I don't really view him as the type of quarterback that's probably leading you to a national title. But I think with Texas Tech, it is going to be that defense. Like you said, they replenished really well on that front 4. I did a couple of those guys for draft prep and was a big fan of the talent they showed. They have talent at all 3 levels. And yeah, maybe Hammond's not great. Can he do enough? If you can do enough and this defense is the type of elite unit they think it can be, maybe you don't win the national championship. Can you get to the finals? Can the rest of the team be good enough that you get into that last dance, whatever Big Ten or SEC team is on the other side? And in a singular game, anything could happen. I think it's not the sexiest appeal for them. Just take it there and see what happens. But sometimes that's just what postseason sports are about.
Do you feel? I know you said that if you were to pick a national champion, you start with the SEC and the Big Ten schools. But I mean, Miami was the national title team last year, where if they have a better quarterback, now even though Carson Beck's in Arizona now, just like shredding everybody apparently. But I think that they upgraded, bringing in Mensa. They're kind of similar to Texas Tech, and they've got a lot of returners on the back end of their defense. And then you got to replace Messidor and Bain. Good luck doing that. So I think they're in a pretty similar spot too, except they actually upgraded at quarterback. How do you kind of feel about them as a whole, I guess?
Yeah, I think Miami would be the team if I'm not doing one of those Big Ten SEC schools pick to win. It would be them. I'd actually really like to pick them, but I think they'll have to operate under Big Ten or SEC until proven otherwise at this point in time. But it doesn't take me very far to get to Miami. You mentioned Mensa's coming back in. Even if he is lateral to Beck, I think him just being a better creator is something that's more helpful at the college football level. Their offensive linemen, they got to replace both their tackles, but they recruit well. They're moving a couple high recruit guys out there. They still have weapons. Their leading receiver and running back coming back, bringing over one of Mensa's guys to do. And you talk about the D-line, yeah, it's not easy to replace Bain and Messidor, obviously. But their two defensive tackles are first-rounders that are coming back. And then you bring in Damon Wilson from Missouri, another player who could push for the first round. It's tough to say there's going to be no drop-off from those two players on the edge, but I think they did about as well as you can expect. I think you could argue that's probably the best front four in football. And when you have confidence in a quarterback coming in and you think that could be the best pass rush in football, that covers up about 90% of your weaknesses in most cases. And when you talk about an ACC schedule, I think they should relatively cruise, even if they lose that game to Notre Dame to get in. Yeah, you got to prove against Big Ten and SEC. That's why I'm not picking them here. But it would not shock me in the slightest if they're the ones hosting the trophy at the end of the year.
Joined by Kevin Potts, writer of the Kevin Potts NFL and NFL Draft Breakdown Substack. Already got mock drafts going up. Had one go up on Monday, which is awesome. So I think it's really weird. I know Ohio State's going to be good. I know that Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith are going to lead the way for them offensively. I know that they're going to have good running backs because Bo Jackson is back. Dope name to if you're going to play running back. A lot of good running back names this year, Kevin. We got Hollywood Smothers at Texas, Turbo Richards down in Bloomington. Anyway, back to Ohio State. So offensively, I feel pretty good about them because I think something we've seen kind of emerge as a pattern the past couple of years is having older, experienced quarterbacks. Julian Sayin is absolutely that now, and he's obviously, a really good player. I know that the defense is going to be good, but like everybody from those legendary defenses of the last 2 years are gone. Who are some of the guys for Ohio State that you kind of have circled coming into this season that we may not be as familiar with?
Yeah, so obviously when you lose the amount of talent that they did the NFL draft, it's not easy to replace. I think a lot of faith in Ohio State is Ohio State being Ohio State. Like you said, they always replace these. And I do think that offense will be fine. There's two guys on defense who are coming back from last year. Kenyatta Jackson, who is their defensive end, was a guy many people thought could have been like a round 3 guy, chooses to come back. He's one of the top edge rushers in the class. And then Jalen McClain, their other safety, obviously Caleb Downs was a special player. But people are really excited about McClain. He's part of a pretty loaded safety class in terms of NFL draft perspective. These guys could push for top 50. So I think those are going to be those two playmakers that you talk about, upperclassmen that are coming back that you're excited to see. And the rest is going to be backfilling in typical Ohio State fashion with their 4- and 5-star recruits. So I think we're just going to have to see who are the guys that break out, because I think history's told us at least a couple guys on that defense are going to explode out of nowhere. Like Reese was not a huge name last year, and look what he became. So I think there's a lot of faith in what Ohio State is going to bring up. But Jackson and McClain are the two guys, well-known names that I'm assuming they're going to lean on as killers for that defense.
Yeah, I'm so fascinated to see it because Matt Patricia, obviously a really smart guy, and someone just threw in our YouTube chat that Wyatt and Daly, the two edge rushers for Indiana, looking for 5th years, apparently their court request to expedite. Okay, I don't think that they're officially back yet. It just looks like that they're going to be seen sooner. Which how does all of this, like NFL guys coming back to college, fifth year guys, that maybe got hurt last year, like Daly, trying to see if they can play one more year. It has me in a really weird spot because if Daly and Wyatt are able to come back for Indiana, like, do they then have the best defensive front in college football? Like, Daly only had 18 tackles for loss last year or whatever, crazy number it was. So who are some of the guys you maybe kind of have your eye on for like returners and guys who can really maybe shift the way that you feel about a team, if there is anybody?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really weird situation. Obviously, this is territory that we have never seen before, and it's tough. It's like you mentioned, these guys are really talented, but they've not been with the program. Obviously, maybe the scheme hasn't changed. How are you folding back in? What does the leadership look like? Some of these guys, like some of the Indiana guys, didn't make rosters because they were hurt. Like, are they coming back and actually even going to be really contributors till the end of the year? How does that work? I think the LSU ones are the ones I kind of have circled most. Talk about actually coming from like NFL camps, and they were guys who were legit starters for Ole Miss last year coming over with Lane Kiffin. And some of those guys that are coming over with them had some choice words for Kiffin leaving, and now they're falling into LSU. I think on the back end, once they get back to the NFL draft, I really don't think it's going to matter very much. If they're good, NFL team's going to bring them back and just not really care. I think for the college level, it's going to benefit these really good teams to bring guys back. It sounds like the Big Ten might be saying no to some of these guys. So maybe this is a situation where the answer is it benefits the SEC because the Big Ten was the conference with the spine and was willing to say no to this, and the SEC teams are the ones that are going to benefit.
Hey, look, the SEC. Being from the South, they're all gonna be like fake enraged by it until that former NFL guy scores a touchdown for them. They'll be like, "This is the best." So it's a fascinating thing. We'll see how all that kind of pans out. Last topic, I guess. I don't want to say question because, as you know, I ask several after I say last question. So I like Oregon to win the national title. Dante Moore's back. Mateo Uiagalelei is back. Bear Alexander, Amari Washington. Like there's a lot of returners from last year's team, and I know they got splattered by IU, but they were down to like their fifth running back. Their two best receivers had been hurt all year, and so I expect for them to be better this year, which is a really weird thing to say. And then whenever I say all this, the very normal response I get is like, well, Dan Lanning can't win the big one, which my thing is like that's kind of true for everybody until they do. Like Ryan Day, latest example, couldn't win the big one. I think the only coach that you can say that about is James Franklin because he got fired before he could win the big one. Just what do you kind of make of that argument against coaches? And Oregon, I feel like, is the one team we haven't really talked about in all of this. How do you kind of feel like that? How do you feel about them compared to these other national title contenders?
Yeah, I don't really put much stock when they haven't won before, and this goes for all sports, really. When you say that, you're operating from a tiny, tiny sample size. The list of coaches or quarterbacks, whoever you're doing this for, there's just not a lot of guys that won it, and we really saw last year. Sometimes a new team can win it, and they can be really damn good, even though we didn't realize it. So I don't really think that's an argument against Oregon. I just said good things about Texas with Sark not that long ago. Same thing. I don't really care if they haven't won that. I think those are both really good coaches that can lead their programs. And I think Oregon checks a lot of the boxes of why I also like Texas. Talking to get an NFL quarterback. You obviously have really talented playmakers. I think Jamari Johnson's probably the best tight end in the country. You have a legit full stock NFL defensive line, as well as some defensive players on the back seven. The only real concern I have for Oregon and why I like a team like Texas more is the same reason Oregon struggled last year. It's that offensive line. They really were good for a lot of the year. And when they got to these top teams, I think you saw them struggle a bit. And I really like Dante Moore. If there is a flaw in his game, it is that creation under pressure. He is not that type of athlete usually. And for a team that's going to have to replace both their left tackle, their left guard, and their right tackle, the only guys that have come back to their center and right guard who are good, not great players, there is a little bit of variance when it comes to it. Maybe it hits. This is obviously a team that recruits and transfer portals super well. It would not shock me if this front five is awesome, and this is a completely moot point. But for a team that had issues with this last year, and when those issues translate to your quarterback, who's one of your biggest selling points for why you're good, I would like to see it a little bit, especially in the early part of Big Ten play. If it's not an issue then, I think they're firmly locked in as one of those tier one contenders.
Absolutely, absolutely. Kevin, what are you working on? Obviously, we got mock draft Mondays. What else? What else are you in the midst of putting together right now?
Yeah, so mock draft just went up. Big board just went up today. Also, if you're more of a video format guy, my TikTok can have positional ranking from talking through those top guys. So if you prefer those over reading, please go check those out. Those are up. And then we'll start transferring into some more University of Washington specific content as we head into the year, talk about their draft prospects and some of their transfer portal guys. And the season's here. Then we'll start pushing out in-season content about draft prospects and Husky program as well.
Sounds good. Thanks for your time, Kevin.
Yeah, man, always a pleasure.
See it. That is Kevin Potts. Check him out on X at Kevin Potts06. If you're a TikTok person, probably the same thing. Kevin Potts06 if you want to go and check out all of his stuff. He does a great job covering the NFL draft and college football and so much more. College football prediction week rolls on at 2:00. We will do top 10 Tuesday. Well, I rip some more takes as we love to do on this show, but we'll talk Colts and their preseason plan on Saturday against the Lions in 3 minutes.
finalists in today's sports world. It's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
The Indianapolis Colts met with the media earlier today. Shane Steichen laying out the plan for the Colts game Saturday against the Lions, their final preseason game. Here is Colts head coach Shane Steichen talking about who is going to play and who isn't.
Are going to play probably about a series or two, probably 8 to 12 plays. Offense and defensive guys. The only guys that won't be playing for sure are Daniel and JT will not play. AR is going to start the game. He's going to play a quarter. Riley's going to play a quarter, and then I'm going to give opportunity to Easton Stick. I think it's important in the preseason for everyone to get an opportunity to go play. And so he's been doing a nice job, and so I think he deserves that opportunity to go out there and play with those guys.
Coach Steichen right there talking about the plan on Saturday. Anthony Richardson will start. Riley Leonard in the second quarter, followed by Easton Stick letting it rip in the second half, the former North Dakota State Bison. Can't wait for it. Should be a lot of fun. So Anthony Richardson Sr. starting that final Colts preseason game. And I'm so fascinated by this because we're going to get to see him play with the starters minus Jonathan Taylor, who should absolutely under no circumstance play a single down in the preseason. I'm expecting them to add a couple more people to this list. There's a chance that Alec Pierce is ready to go by Saturday. I doubt that they'll play him. DeForest Buckner wouldn't surprise me if they decided not to play him. Same thing goes for, Charvarius Ward as well, who's coming off. I believe he hurt his back earlier in training camp. So I wouldn't be surprised if they added a few more people to that will not play list. But I think Anthony Richardson has to be the first guy that you circle when you hear this. Just this hope of maybe he's going to be the backup. How does he look with the starters? Can he stand in the pocket and deliver the football on time and on target like he did in that first preseason game on the road against New England? Maybe that's Anthony Richardson's problem. Maybe Anthony Richardson struggles to play in a dome. Maybe he has to play outside.
I'm not sure that's the case, but
I'm kind of curious now. I want to go through because he's got that 19-play game-winning drive against New England.
Right.
On the road. I don't feel like he ever really plays well at home.
And he went to college where?
Florida.
Right. Okay.
Outdoors.
So that makes sense. Yeah.
Just saying. I don't know.
Could be a comfort thing.
Maybe. But anyway, so we're going to get to see him throw the football to Josh Downs and maybe Keenan Allen. Wouldn't be surprised if they added him to that list as well of players who aren't going to play. But the most important thing is we're going to get to see him play with the starters under the exact situation we would see him in if Daniel Jones were to get hurt. I think that they're leaning towards him being the backup quarterback. We'll see if that pans out or not. It is certainly possible that he goes out there on Saturday and sucks. And then Shane Steichen's like, you know what? Screw this. Riley Leonard, let's go. That's very possible. So very intrigued to see how Anthony Richardson looks on Sunday. After that, I'm just excited to watch Justin Wally finally play football. I mean, he's up there with Babe Ruth in terms of just the legend that we hear. Every day it's like, dude, Justin Wally had 7 interceptions today. It's like, oh, that's a lot. That's impressive. It's like, dude, Justin Wally's just out here locking everybody up. And we're finally going to get to see him play football on Sunday. And I can't wait. I want to see how that guy looks. I want to see how he moves. Because that's the thing. I was watching I was watching something with Amelia, and we were watching for 5 minutes, and whatever sport we were watching, Amelia goes, that guy moves differently than everybody else. And the guys who move differently are usually the best players on the field. And I think there's a decent chance that we watch Justin Wally on Saturday and we walk away from the game, the 12 plays that we get to see, and we say something like Justin Wally moves differently than every other player on the field. Like guys that are athletically gifted just have a certain smoothness to them whenever they change directions. And there's just like a certain ease to it. And everything that we've heard about Justin Wally, it seems like he's one of those guys. And I'm so excited to watch how he looks. I'm excited to see Arden Key. It's the first preseason action from him that we're going to get to see. Can he set the edge in the run game? Can he kind of rush the passer? Because Jalen Tuimoloau can apparently do neither. And the Colts need at least one guy who can do that. So Arden Key, Justin Wally, Anthony Richardson, those are the three names that I have circled for those, first couple of possessions that we'll see from them in the preseason game. I don't mind Coach Steichen running these guys out there. It's football. They are just as likely to get hurt in joint practice as they are in a preseason game. So I don't mind him running these guys out there for a quick little dress rehearsal. It's kind of nice to have a rhythm and a flow before the season starts. It's why Major League Baseball has spring training. It's why the NBA has their preseason as well. NBA preseason. What a joke. But yeah, should be just a fun and fascinating watch on Saturday. Chris, what's up?
I feel like this is going to be an ongoing thing, though. Like, we're not going to have any final solid answers on Saturday. I mean, obviously, we're shooting for the final 53 on the roster. But as far as like the backup quarterback thing, I still don't think it's going to get resolved on Saturday, for example. Like, we're going to go into the season and it's just going to be a circumstantial scenario type thing.
We're not going to know until Daniel Jones gets hurt.
Exactly.
Shane Steichen just never answers the question. And then we're all going to be sitting down. Daniel Jones is going to like accidentally roll his ankle. And we're like, okay, who's he sending in there?
Yeah.
And then Easton Stick comes trotting out. They're like, oh, it's Easton Stick.
Right.
Oh, let's go.
When they release the depth chart every week before each game, it's still going to say
or
backup quarterback Anthony Richardson or Riley Leonard, and then number 3 Easton Stick.
Yep, that's what it's going to say.
Still going to have just 4
every
quarterbacks the entire season.
Shane Steichen is just going to keep us in suspense through the entire season because look, he doesn't have to tell us. He doesn't have to tell us. They can do or if they really, really want to. Oh man, that's so funny.
This is true. I mean, you were asking me earlier too about who in particular I'm looking for as far as performance coming up on Saturday. And I said the entire defense, right? Like, I want to see a better outing from our front runners and starters or what have you on Saturday than we have from the rest of the team the previous couple weeks. And what I don't want to see is dude that attracts all the penalties. What you were talking about.
Mekhi Blackman?
Yeah. Let's just, okay. We can say him.
Let's
we
just
already
cut him
know.
now. Let's
we
just
already
cut him
know.
now.
Yeah.
He wasn't bad. What's weird is he played like meaningful snaps for the Colts last year because everybody got hurt.
Right.
And he wasn't that bad. He was like, clearly not a starting corner, but he wasn't getting called for pass interference or holding every single possession. This is probably me being way too nice. But you know how in the preseason, referees have a tendency to call things a little bit tighter to kind of set the tone for the season. And then once the season starts, they kind of back off a little bit.
Sure.
It's probably not that, like, in terms of why Blackman is getting called for all these penalties, because it's not like it's happening to everybody else. But, maybe it's the officials and it's not him. I don't know.
I don't know.
That's me being way too nice. That's what that is.
It's probably him, though.
It's probably. I'm just,
But yeah, I see
I'm
what you're saying.
just trying to be a more positive guy, Chris.
I get it.
All right. Hour number 3 coming your way. 2:00. We will do Top 10 Tuesday. Can't wait. We are talking wild card college football teams with some volatility. Could go 7-5, could go 10-2. It all just kind of depends on a couple of specific things. So we will do college football wild cards for Top 10 Tuesday at 2:00. But first, Chris, as your sports update.
Thanks, Jonathan. Here's what's trending this hour. We were talking about the Colts officially unveiling their new Anvil Strike rivalry alternate uniforms this morning. And we'll be able to see those in action in week 3 against the Texans at Lucas Oil Stadium on September 27th. Personally, I like the metallic blue helmets and the actual jersey. That could be a little better, but I do like the horseshoe being on the jersey itself for the first time ever. And if you haven't seen that, go check it out when you get a chance. Pacers Foundation held their inaugural charity softball game at Victory Field last night. Tyrese Halliburton's team was victorious over Daniel Jones's team with the final score of 28-8. All in good fun for a great cause, though, as the event raised over $250K for the Pacers Foundation, with 100% of the proceeds going directly to the Drive and Dash food program, which provides groceries to youth and families around the city. Also, officials in the Big Ten announced today that they will not allow any players who have played in the NFL, appeared on an NFL roster, or signed a contract with the Pro League team to return and play in their conference. That per in Rappaport. All right. All the news coming through about college players trying to go back, or NFL players trying to go back to college. More on that coming up. That's what's trending this hour on the Real Jonathan Smith Show. That's more of that coming up in 4 minutes on Indy Sports Ticket 1430.
do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Hour number 3 of the Real Jonathan Smith Show getting underway on a beautiful Tuesday. A great lineup of guests today. Dave Revson, Tony East, and, of course, Kevin Potts, as well as College Football Prediction Week rolls on here on the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Before we get into Top 10 Tuesday, we got some news. Dolly Parton has passed away. Chris, what's your favorite Dolly Parton song?
I have a lot of respect for her and her long career, but I'm not super familiar with her music.
I have a lot of respect for her, but I don't listen to any of her songs.
Okay, well, the one that probably stuck out to me the most was "I Will Always Love You." This is the one that Whitney Houston covered. But yeah, unfortunate news, man. Country queen Dolly Parton, age 80, right there.
80, jeez, that's crazy. Jeez. 80 years old. I mean,
I'm so old? Is that
no, I said, 80 years old.
Oh.
But I mean, no. The answer is Jolene. That's her most famous song.
Oh, yeah.
Her most famous song is Jolene. It's a certified banger. Love that song.
Is that your favorite?
Yes.
Okay.
Jolene. Yeah. And
I forgot about that one.
I'll stop there. All right. Top 10 Tuesday on the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Let's get into it. This is the part where Chris is supposed to start rapping about Dolly Parton. Seems pretty fitting.
I got nothing.
You got nothing? Okay. All right. Top 10 Tuesday. Let's get into it. These are our college football wild card teams with a decent chance to, I think, be pretty volatile. Like if any of these teams won 7 games, I wouldn't be surprised. But at the same time, if any of these teams won like 11 or 10 games, I wouldn't be surprised either. Number 10 on this list, Tennessee. Tennessee was a team last offseason and everybody was like, love them because of the Nico Iamaleava stuff. They were basically like, you're not going to keep extorting us for money. So you're gone. See ya. Iamaleava goes to UCLA, and Tennessee is able to go 8-4 despite, having to grab a quarterback last minute. And this year, I have them as a volatile team because they are relying on a true freshman quarterback. He is a 5-star. But the last few years, we have seen this trend of older quarterbacks having the most success in college football. Okay, now it's a gamble, but this is a 5-star kid who's incredibly talented. Sometimes that works out really well. Other years, it looks like Bryce Underwood did last year at Michigan. Not very good at all. So we will see how it goes. But Tennessee, a team that probably ends up going 8-4 again. But if they went 6-6 because they have a young freshman quarterback, that's possible. But if they went 10-2 because their young freshman quarterback's a stud, that wouldn't be overly surprising either. Number 9, SMU. I don't think Kevin Jennings is that good. I know his numbers say otherwise. I know SMU named a building after him while he's still on the roster. That's crazy. But he turns the ball over way too much. His ball placement isn't consistent. And SMU is replacing a lot of guys last year. We almost got through Belfry.
Got to be consistent on your ball placement.
Ball placement consistency is very important. Okay. So many questions that I want to ask now. Where is the best? Never mind. All right. Kevin Jennings got to be a little more accurate when throwing the football. They're also just replacing a lot of guys from last year. They don't have very many returners. The reliance on Kevin Jennings is only going to grow, and I don't think that that's a good thing. I could see this year going a little sideways for SMU, but at the same time, they're in a very soft ACC. That's a team that's 14-2 in ACC games since joining the conference. So Maybe their ACC domination continues, but we will see. Number 8, Utah. They have a new head coach in Morgan Scaley. They went 11-2 last year in Kyle Whittingham's final season. Their starting quarterback, Devin Dampier, is back. He's electric. He can really run, and that is what Utah is going to hang their hat on this year. Wayshawn Parker is back as well. He led the Big 12 in yards per carry last year. And this is my problem with Utah and why I think that there's some volatility. When I brought up their starting quarterback, the first thing that I said was that he can really run. That is not the first thing you want people to say about your quarterback. You want them to say, man, that guy can really sling it. And if Dampier improved as a passer in the offseason, then I think Utah should feel really good about their team this next year. But if he didn't, then his inability to consistently be accurate could cost them a few games this year. Utah, another team that could go 10-2, could also go 7-5. Number 7, getting a little, I don't know about spicier here, but I've got Texas A&M on the list here at 7. This is a team that made the college football playoff last year, is the preseason top 10 ranked team. And they won games last year because their defense was dominant. And it made up for calling it a lackluster offense feels incorrect because they had a lot of talent at receiver. They've got a lot of talent at receiver again this year as well. And so my question this year is really about Marcel Reed because I'm not really a believer in Marcel Reed. That's a problem for A&M because all of the major pieces from last year's defense that they relied on so heavily are now gone. And these are guys that went on to the NFL that are not going to go back to college. So there's no way that they're going to get those guys back. And, Mike Elko is a good defensive-minded coach. They hit the portal hard. A&M obviously has the money to revamp all of the talents. But I just find it really hard to believe that their defense is going to be as good this year as it was last year. And the idea of them having to rely on Marcel Reed even more to win games isn't something that I would be a fan of if I was Texas A&M. Number 6, Ole Miss. Having Trinidad Chambliss back is a big deal for the Rebels, but not having Lane Kiffin back is a bigger deal. Pete Golding has never been a head coach before. That matters. And it's not like he was some great defensive coordinator before Lane Kiffin left. Those Ole Miss defenses were never very good. So I'm intrigued to see the identity of this team. Can they recreate the offensive magic that they had last year without Lane Kiffin? I'm leaning towards probably not, but Trinidad Chambliss is a stud. So maybe he finds a way to get it done for them offensively. Number 5, as we continue our Top 10 Tuesday wild card college football teams that are a little more volatile, could finish 10-2, could finish 7-5, is Houston. Willie Fritz is a good head coach. Houston won 10 games last year. Their quarterback, Connor Weigman, is back after a good year last year. They've got solid weapons. Their problem is their offensive line, and it could derail their season. They've only got one returning starter from last year, and that's really my only question. Defensively, their front four is loaded by Big 12 standards. Their linebackers and safeties are returners. Sure, that they could use some more depth at corner, but I think that's everybody. That offensive line question for them is pivotal because if the other 4 starters that they're replacing, and they come in and they're impactful, then Houston is going to be really good. Could be the second best team in the Big 12. But if they're not, then all the momentum that Willie Fritz started up last year could quickly be gone. Number 4, Washington. DeMond Williams is back. He is a stud at quarterback. There's a reason why Lane Kiffin called him while Sam Leavitt was on a visit. Kind of crazy. Jed Fish is an excellent offensive-minded head coach. Their problem, or the question that I have for them, is on the defensive side of the ball. They only return 4 starters. On paper, I don't think this is some prolific transfer class. Offensively, I have no doubts Washington is going to score a lot of points. But defensively, if they can figure out the defense, I think they're going to have an excellent opportunity to go 9-3 again. Maybe they even take a step forward and go 10-2. But if those defensive transfers do not pan out, then they could certainly take a step back to 7-5 or 8-4. Number 3, Virginia Tech. James Franklin is a good coach. He's just not one of the best coaches in college football. Good news for him. He's in the ACC now, where Mario Cristobal is probably the best coach in that conference. And Mario Cristobal is really more of a recruiter than anything else. If James Franklin can find a way to match Miami's talents, and he might with all the guys that followed him from Penn State, they could certainly compete in the ACC. The question is really just going to be how much of that talent pans out. A lot of the guys who followed him, were guys who maybe didn't play as much last year. How does the rest of their transfer portal class look? Virginia Tech, a very intriguing team this year. That if they turned out, to go 9-3, 10-2, maybe playing the ACC championship game, like that'd be awesome for them. But at the same time, I think 7-5 is certainly on the table for them too. Number 2 is Michigan. Kyle Whittingham is an excellent head coach. Michigan is going to be better because Kyle Whittingham is a better head coach than Sharon Moore. Bryce Underwood should be improved under, Kyle Whittingham going into year 2. The problem with Michigan and why they're on this list of these volatile teams that could go 10-2 but could also go 7-5 is because they have 5 games that are all incredibly losable. They have to play Oklahoma. They have to play Iowa. They have to play Indiana. They have to play Ohio State. And they have to play Oregon. That's 5 potential losses on the board for Michigan. I don't think that they lose all 5. But if they lose 2 of them, which is, I think, a given, that puts them at 10-2. But if they lose 3 or 4, obviously that'll put them down at 8-4. So Michigan, number 2 on the list. I do think that they're going to be better. The schedule is just so brutal that it'll be interesting to see where they end up. And then number 1, the biggest wild card in the sport, a team that if things come together on, they could win a national title. But when you have, 70 new players, it's kind of a tough thing to do. It's LSU. Now, what'll help them is that they're allowed to take these NFL players back onto their roster, and we'll see how they kind of look from there. But even if they're unable to add those guys, which is what should happen, they shouldn't be allowed to bring these NFL guys back. Even if they don't, there's still a lot of new faces. They're all very talented. Like they grabbed the number 1 offensive tackle in the portal. Sam Levitt's a good quarterback. There's a lot to like there on paper. It just has to mesh well. And if it does, LSU is a national title contender. If it doesn't, then they're going to go 7-5 or 8-4. That's the reality of it. Those are your 10 volatile college football teams for the upcoming college football season as prediction week on the Real Jonathan Smith Show continues. I think next week's prediction week next week is prediction week for the NFL as well. So we're going to be ripping even more takes next week. Well, I mean, we do that every day. But anyway, those are your 10 volatile college football teams on Top 10 Tuesday. I want to do, Chris, I want to do a little house cleaning. I feel like yesterday we didn't get to all of the Colts preseason stuff that we probably needed to. So I want to talk a little bit more about that horrific outing against Atlanta. We can kind of bridge the gap to this next outing against the Lions, where I think we're going to actually learn a little bit more than what we did last Saturday. So we'll talk Colts upcoming preseason game Saturday against the Lions and that horrific loss on Saturday against the Falcons in 3 minutes.
may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Chris doesn't want me to lose weight, apparently. He brought in 4 different packs of Oreos. Like, just full on. And they're 4 different flavors. And they're Oreos. So they're all really good.
I mean, we've been talking about this, and I talk about it on my other shows on the other stations too, about how usually once a year Oreo will release some different flavors, and they're temporary. So you got to grab them while you have a chance. So I found all the ones that they were advertising at Meijer, like on an end cap. They're like $5 a package. So yeah, I spent $20 on Oreos today. So in the studio today, we have apple alamode. Some kind of apple alamode pie or something. There's deep fried Oreos. There's or flavored Oreos. There's chicken and waffle. And then there's also banana pudding. Those are the flavors that we have in here today. So far, banana pudding is my favorite.
Yeah, it's elite. It's really good.
It tastes like it would be excellent in some actual banana pudding.
It does.
Like,
it's true.
I know people use like vanilla wafers, whatever, but if you tasted these cookies, they'd be like,
pudding Oreos,
bro, let's go.
Banana pudding.
Yeah, we're taking a nap after the show after all these cookies.
I'm gonna need one.
Yeah,
big game tonight. The Airballers 2-0 playing against another team that's also 2-0.
Oh, you have a game tonight?
I do. It's Tuesday.
Don't worry about the cookies then. You're gonna run it all off later when you score 7 points.
I had 10 last week.
7 to 10 points.
And I mean, dude, I'll be honest. I'm a team guy. That's why I only score 7 or 10 points. It's because like I don't need the ball. It's fine.
Do you get assists
if you're
too?
open? Yeah.
Oh.
I'm a very willing passer.
Okay.
Like I had 10 points on 5 shots last week. I hit 2 threes, ran the break really well. But like there's the Wemby had a quote during last season where he was like, I pass up shots I can make with my eyes closed so my teammates can take shots that they can make in their sleep. That is very much how I play. Like, if I'm open, but you have a better shot than I do, I'm giving you the ball. And sometimes that generosity is not returned to me. And that happened last week. Dude, I came out. I'm
keeping score.
I won't spend too much time on this. Last week, I come out. I hit a 3 on our first possession. Just wet that thing, dude. Just whoosh. Beautiful. Beautiful shot. If Coach Painter had been in the building, he'd been like, does that kid have any eligibility? Would love him on our team. And then, like 2 possessions later, I come down, hit a deep 3. Like, deep 3. Same thing. Wet. Whoosh. Trotting back. And the other team calls timeout after I make it. You know? And so I'm jogging over, and all my teammates are, they're all dapping me up and like, here we go. Didn't touch the ball again for so long. It was so frustrating. I was like, guys, I'm hot over here. And all the while I'm big like if we have guys who score the ball better than me, then like I'll defend the opposing team's best player and like I'll really rebound. And so like I'm playing hard. And like there's plays where I'm open. It's like, guys, I'm 2 for 2. I'm feeling pretty good right now. Followed by not getting the ball. A little frustrating. That's okay.
But your team won by like 40 something or something,
yeah,
right?
And that's and this is what happens. To be totally fair to my guys, when you're up by 30, the desire to just kind of chuck shots shows up for a lot of guys because it's like we're up by 30. It doesn't really matter at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won like 88-46 or something like that last week, and so we'll see. We'll see how it goes this week. We're playing the other undefeated team in our league, and I'm fascinated by it. Should be a lot of fun. Anyway, I will stop talking about that now.
Man,
because
you guys don't
videotape
your games, right? Like,
Oh, no.
Okay, because we're not going to see highlights from your game tonight. And
Do you
you're
want highlights?
You're just going to.
I can tell Amelia to record
All
me.
we're going to do is hear about what you did and none of your teammates. Like, here's me running down the court, and I had a great shot here, but I didn't take it. Oh, it's going to be all analysis of the Jonathan Smith team against whoever you're playing.
I'm just saying. I mean,
Here's what I did.
I'm just, I mean.
No, I know you're not conceited or anything like that.
Dude, if I was conceited, I would score way more than 7 and 10 points. I would take so many more shots than I do. But hey, the goal is to win, and we're winning. That's really
your team's highlight.
All that I care about.
Your team's highlight reel would just be like a Jonathan Smith draft video. Like, here's all the moves that he made. Here's him sitting down on the bench.
if we did like a highlight video, it would be of my boy David, just like crushing dudes. He's shorter than me. He's bald, but that man he does not miss. He's incredible, man. Just fast, twitchy, played college ball, just a stud.
Well, good luck in your game tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's get back to the Colts coming up on Saturday, playing against the Lions. I do want to go back to last week, though, or Saturday. Because the Colts are awful, man. Just freaking brutal. And I really want to see how they look this week with their actual starters. Because, like Cam Taylor-Britt was the Colts' best corner that played last week. And the secondary got shredded. And guess what? Cam Taylor-Britt is not a starter. That's why we saw him on special teams, right? He's going to hopefully carve out a role there and be the Colts' fourth best corner. There is a guy, though, that played that we are absolutely going to see during the season, and that is C.J. Allen. I thought he was okay. He played about 20 snaps. He didn't really jump off the field as I was watching. But that being said, he had like 3 tackles. But I think it's hard to evaluate players when they are surrounded by other players that aren't rosterable, that just lack the ability to make the roster. And so what I've liked to have seen more from C.J. Allen, absolutely. With that being said, I didn't think he was bad. It wasn't like the Jalen Tuimoloau stuff where you're watching him get blown off the ball and you're watching him struggle to generate pressure while being blocked by a backup. Whereas with Allen, I just kind of felt like he got caught up in a lot of the traffic that you see whenever the opposing team runs the football. It felt like some guys maybe weren't in the right spots. It just didn't look clean from this Colts defense. Now, that was not a problem for Austin Ojke. It wasn't a problem for Jalen Carlisle, who both had 6 tackles. I did think Austin Ojke was good, but I don't know. I was hoping for a little bit more from C.J. Allen. Chris, what did you kind of think of the 20 or so snaps that we saw from C.J. Allen on Saturday?
I didn't ultimately focus on him specifically. It was more of like a team thing. There's another player that kind of stuck out to me. I can't think of his name at the moment right now. I think he's another one of the rookies. Help me out here. It was
Bryce Betcher?
Nope, the one that was more local. I think he went to
Caden Curry.
That's the one. I thought he looked pretty decent, but I'm sorry I didn't really focus on that particular one that you mentioned there.
No, that's okay. So, because he's kind of supposed to be the guy, and the linebacker rotations for the Colts throughout these preseason games, I've just found really interesting because they're playing all of them. It doesn't feel like you mentioned Bobby Wagner maybe being a guy that they start,
right?
Or
if they bring him to town, yeah, a possibility. Him or a long shot, Bobby Okereke coming back to the Colts. But it's a long shot, but
yeah,
things to think about.
So the interesting thing with them is just like they've played literally all of their linebackers with the exception of Akeem Davis Gaither, who's going to start. But like we've seen C.J. Allen, we've seen Jalen Carlisle, we've seen Austin Ojke, we've seen Wes Weeks, we've seen Taj Chambers. We've seen Bryce Betchers. We've seen all of them. And that doesn't make me feel great because you would think that they wouldn't want to play their starters in a lot of these games. And so it doesn't seem like the Colts have a really good grip on who they want to be their starting linebacker alongside Akeem Davis Gaither. I don't know how I don't know how important that is, just kind of given that, Lou Anarumo does like to, rotate linebackers in and out. That's just kind of the way that he's always operated, just kind of during his time in the NFL. So we're going to see some heavy rotations there one way or the other. I just kind of like knowing who our two best linebackers are. I like feeling like there's a step up from our backups to our first string. And I don't feel like that's the case right now, just with how much they've moved these guys in and out.
That's fair. And it's going to be easier to locate these guys once the roster gets trimmed down. It's just, for me, it feels so crowded whenever they show the defense. It's like, man, they cut a camera at the wrong time and you catch a guy that you've never even heard of, that you didn't even know was in training camp to begin with. I think once it'll be a whole lot less confusing for everybody once that roster gets trimmed down for sure, and be easier to focus on the main parts of that defense.
Yeah, and look, this is the nice thing about Saturday. We should get some clarity. Like if they're playing starters, then like that means we're going to see Akeem Davis Gaither, and it'll be interesting to see who they play beside him. And to get back to CJ Allen, the second round pick out of Georgia, like coming in, like he was supposed to be the Zaire Franklin replacement. He's obviously gotten hurt and things throughout training camp, right? He's had some like calf flare-ups and things, and so they've been pretty careful with him. But I would kind of like to see him play a little bit more than just 20 snaps on Saturday. Like I'd like for it to like maybe have him play the full first half and like really allow him to kind of get a feel, because he's missed joint practices and other things of that nature as well with some of the injuries. So I'd like to see him play a little bit more than all the other starters on Saturday, even though it is their final preseason game.
That's fair. Yeah, like I said, man, after they trim it down, they're probably not going to put him out there a whole lot because he's already a guaranteed spot on the roster, right? Like you already know what you're getting. Now it's just a matter of expectations. You would like to see him go out there and improve, but I don't think it's all going to happen on Saturday, though. It's just going to be a progress throughout the season.
I just think it's a rhythm thing.
That's also fair.
Like if you're missing practice, and because that's kind of the thing with him, right? Like sure, he's done individual drills and things, but joint practices and preseason games are kind of where you're supposed to, like tackle dudes and like kind of get in that rhythm and flow. And when you're, a rookie, I know that scouts call the SEC the baby NFL, which is obviously where CJ Allen played last year. But like tackling the running back at LSU is not the same as tackling Jahmyr Gibbs or Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Or Bijan Robinson, which he hasn't really had an opportunity to do yet. So, that's why I think he should play more.
That's fair. So if you see him get less work but made some really good plays, would that be acceptable?
That would be acceptable.
Like go out, make a statement, and then you can go. But but no plays and more more work, right? The 18 to 20 plays.
Yeah.
If he didn't make any solid notable plays, then that's what you would rather see.
It's kind of like what I wish that they had done with Jalen Tuimoloau on Saturday. We watched Jalen Tuimoloau play an entire half, and we didn't notice him at all. I wish that the Colts had been like, Jalen, you are going to play until we notice you. And that's kind of what I want from CJ Allen. Like, play him until it feels like he has a drive where it's like, okay, like something clicked here. I think he has a better understanding, which part of why he may have struggled last week is just because the Colts defensive tackles in front of him that were playing just weren't very good. Whereas, this week, theoretically, he's going to be standing behind DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart, two excellent defensive tackles, right? And so having guys like that in front of you should free your linebackers up to run a little bit more and have a clearer path to whoever's carrying the football. So maybe we see him behind those guys and we're like, oh, okay, this guy is awesome. He was just playing behind some scrubs when they were playing Atlanta.
Yeah, that should make a difference. I mean, that's almost like comparing what he played behind, to use one of your analogies, kind of like a plastic silverware as opposed to like metal silverware that he's going to play with this weekend. It's a little bit more guaranteed and insurance there that he's going to be behind. So, yeah, your expectations should go up as far as this play goes.
Yeah, that's what I would think. We'll see. Because like so much of football, it's a little cliche, but hey, it's fine. It's the ultimate team game. If all 11 guys do their job, then it makes your job easier. And if you have guys that you're playing alongside that are incapable of doing their job, then it makes your life a lot tougher, right? So that's really kind of what it boils down to for a lot of these guys. And again, having better defensive tackles in front of CJ Allen, I would think would lead to a little bit more success. But hey, we will see. Speaking of success, we're still waiting to figure out kind of who that final wide receiver is going to be on the Colts depth chart. And it's a fascinating thing. I couldn't find the audio, but Brian Mason spoke to the he spoke yesterday to the media and talked about Ashton Doolin as a returner, which is really important for who's going to grab that final spot. I'll tell you why in 3 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Big night tonight for your boy. Big basketball game. Playing the other undefeated team in our league. Probably going to win by 20. That would be my guess. We shall see. Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in. YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, you can also watch the show on X __ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And, of course, 14:30 a.m. as well. Brian Mason, Colts special teams coordinator, spoke to the media yesterday. And the first thing that he talked about was his leg. His knee is fine. Sounds like he needs a knee replacement of some sort. But, I mean, outside of that, it seems like it's fine is what he said. And then he went on to talk a little bit about Ashton Dulin and them trying him out as a returner. This is important because if Ashton Dulin is your kickoff and punt returner, then that means you no longer have to roster Coleman Owen, who seemed to be the leader in that department. Why does that matter? That matters because Deion Burks is fighting for that final receiver slot. And when I think that you look at the guys fighting for that final receiver spot, Deion Burks has the highest potential as an actual receiver, whereas Coleman Owens, okay in the slot, I guess. And, the reps we've seen from Anthony Gould as a receiver haven't been good. Laquan Treadwell's had a decade to prove that he can be an NFL-level receiver. He hasn't really done that. Deion Burks was the Colts' best receiver in that game on Saturday against Atlanta. That's not saying much. It's like being the richest poor person. You're still poor, but hey, it's something to work with, I guess. And looking at that game on Saturday, Deion Burks and Coleman Owen alternated returning kicks. That was kind of funny how that worked out pretty perfectly for what the Colts wanted to look at there. But when it came to punt returns, Deion Burks didn't return a single punt. It was only Coleman Owen who had the opportunities to do that. So that makes it look like Coleman Owen's going to be your return guy. And if he's going to be your return guy, then he has to be rostered, which means he would get that wide receiver 6 spot. But if Ashton Dulin can do it, and he's your wide receiver 4, that then gives you the opportunity to put Deion Burks on your actual roster, which is something that I would like to see them do because he's got some upside as a receiver, can really move, just flat out flies down the field. Strong player as well. You know, Reggie Wayne after the draft talked about how they had a 4th round grade on him coming out of Oklahoma. He obviously falls to the 7th round and they're able to grab him. So we'll see. That is the wide receiver 6 battle in a nutshell. It's something that shouldn't really impact the Colts too much because if you're playing your 6th wide receiver on your depth chart, your season's probably over. But the idea of Deion Burks, Ashton Dulin returning punts and kicks, I really like. The dude is just explosive. It feels like every time he touches the football, he finds a way to make an impact, right? He's a bigger guy, 6'2", 215, and the dude can flat out fly whenever, when it comes to him running, just in general. I mean, I still think about, his time as a receiver a couple of years ago. Anthony Richardson ripped one to him over the middle, and he just caught it and just took off for a touchdown. It was against Houston. And this is a guy who has experience returning kicks. He was, let's look here, 2019, he returned three kickoffs. 2020, he returned 6. 2021, he returned 8. 2024, he had 4 returns. And then 2025, so last year, he had 16 kickoff returns. So this is a guy who has experience bringing the ball back The question is really going to be the punt returns. He's never returned a punt before. That's a little concerning because catching a punt is not quite the same as receiving a kickoff. And so but at the same time, like, the dude plays wide receiver. So I would just assume that he has the hand-eye, coordination and the hand strength to receive punts. Okay. And look, even if he can't, I'm kind of at a point where, like, can we just run Josh Downs out there? I get it. He's part of your offense, but he's also an extremely explosive player. He's your hands team punt returner. So when you just need somebody to trot back there and not muff the punt, you're going to Deion Burks. And that's a guy who also has the physical skills to return punts for you. So why not have Ashton Doolin and Seth McGowan or whoever you want the other kickoff returner to be return kickoffs, and then just put Josh Downs back there for punts. He absolutely has the skill set to do it. Chris, what do you kind of think about that idea of just just have Downs return the punts?
Man, I don't think if he wasn't used so much in the wide receiver spot, like, because I know they use some wide receivers as punt returners, whatever. I think he's more valuable as a wide receiver, and you don't want to risk losing him to the special teams and any kind of accident, right? It's too crucial to risk to put out there for a punt return or a kickoff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's absolutely what they're thinking. My thing is, like, there's 6 punts a game, right? And like you might return 3 of them. A lot of them get fair caught anyway.
True.
And I also look at it as, and this is probably wrong. Again, you're right. They're looking at this as like, we don't want to put him out there any more than what we need to. But Josh Downs is an explosive player. Like, I would view it as 6 more potential chances for him to do something special with the ball in his hands. I feel like it's just another way to get him involved.
It could be more of a circumstantial thing, right? Like, if the Colts are up by 2 or 3 scores, then yeah, I'd feel better about him going out to return a punt or a kick because they're less likely in that situation to air it down the field and need it for Josh Downs. But if we're down or down by a score or 2, we're going to be throwing the ball. Let's put somebody else in those shoes for that time being.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought process because it seems like the Colts want to roster Deion Burks, right? It feels like that's why they're going down this avenue of maybe having Ashton Doolin return kicks. And I just feel like, isn't the easiest path to this just Downs? I don't know. They're way smarter than I am, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, there's a reason to any madness, right? Like, you ever play Madden, right? And they sometimes automatically do your special teams and your lineups and yada yada whatever. Especially if you do like a fantasy draft. Long story short, the other day I had Christian McCaffrey returning punts, right? Because he's the fastest person on the field. And then his backup was like somebody on the defense. It just doesn't make sense, but it's just all circumstantial, man. What are you willing to risk to get an extra 10 yards on a kickoff? Really?
Hey, man, that matters, dude. Like, seriously, like, if you, okay, let's take your theory, 10 yards. Most of the time on kickoff returns, you start at your own 30.
Yeah.
If you start at your own 40 and you get a first down, you're in field goal range. Like, you were at midfield. And so but then again, like, this Colts team, they may feel like their offense is so prolific that they don't need to be great in the in the return game, which is certainly possible. So it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, if we had a kicker like Harrison Butker or something like that, then yeah, put Josh Downs out there because we're about to kick a 70-yard field goal. That's what's about to happen.
That's
yeah,
right.
and it's all circumstantial, man.
It is. Okay. I'm going to change topics here a little bit. So Saturday, North Carolina plays against TCU in Ireland, right? Last year when this happened, ESPN went out there. I believe that they hosted College Game Day for Week 0. Pat McAfee did a show from a pub in Ireland. They had to take it off the air because he got drunk. Does that happen again this year?
You said it was in Ireland?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know if they're going out there, but if they're sending McAfee and the crew, which I would assume that they are, then absolutely. He's either going to have to pull them off the air again.
Right. A good possibility for sure. I'll just say that.
Oh, man. So funny, dude. College football's back. It's freaking awesome. I love it so much. And yeah, I'm fascinated to see, who babysits Bill Belichick's girlfriend during the game. Would love to know. That's
She's in the daycare portion of the arena or stadium.
They have 4 different press boxes in Ireland, and they just roped one off for her. It's just like a big playpen.
Yep. And Bill Belichick has a little thing that he carries around. If it lights up, that means she's being in trouble, and he needs to come pick her up immediately.
Yeah,
just like they do at church whenever you drop your kids off.
he's like leaving the field, and he's having to go up to the press box to deal with Jordan. That's so funny. Oh man! All right. I know we're getting to it a little early here, Chris, but are you ready for what we learned today on the Real Jonathan Smith Show?
I mean, I got a couple things, man. Might need your help, but let's see what happens.
That's fine. Let's get into it.
All right.
All right, class. What did we learn today?
Yeah. I like that music. This has been your ball placement has to be consistent so you can hit the portal hard edition of the Real Jonathan Smith Show. That was a long one.
That was a
Today, we learned that banana pudding flavored Oreos are elite and should be considered when making actual banana pudding.
Oh, absolutely.
Nothing to do with sports right there, but
nothing.
That is necessary information
They should also put tiramisu Oreos in tiramisu.
That's something I've never had, but I've had the cookies. What is that, like a pie or something?
You never had tiramisu?
Or is it
or
tiramisu?
You never had tiramisu Oreo?
What is that? Is that like a cheesecake or something?
I don't know how to describe it.
They don't have that in my neighborhood.
Oh, okay. I mean, okay, whatever. I had it on a cruise. It looks like cake.
Sounds expensive.
But it's really soft. It's so good, dude. It's 10 out of 10. WFT soft. We haven't played that in a while.
Right, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to have to try out tiramisu. It's another thing that we just learned today.
Good stuff.
We also learned that if Jonathan's Tuesday night basketball league team produced highlights, it would only feature stuff that Jonathan did.
It'd be a really short highlight tape. I'm sorry, dude. Like we've just got. I'm trying to think. So there's 8 guys on our team. And I'm probably like the 6th best player. That's probably where I'm at.
But in the few minutes that you talked about the game that you played last week, you were very passionate and only defined stuff that like you talked about until I brought something else up.
Well, I mean, you attacked me. You brought up. You were like, so you can score 7 points. It's like, okay, now I have to say something about my performance last week.
Well, either way, I hope you have fun and enjoy your game tonight. Is there anything that you learned today on your show that you didn't know before we started?
The show's way easier when you have 3 guests.
Right. Yeah, that's true. It was fully loaded today.
Yep, fully loaded. There you go. I was gonna say that's we stay fully loaded on the Real Jonathan Smith Show.
I mean, it was my friends at home. It was so detailed today and specific and sports oriented that we struggled to come up with funny stuff here at the end.
It is a sports show,
and that's a good thing because he's very knowledgeable. He knows what he's doing, and you guys had learned a lot today, sports wise. But from the
let me think here. I'm trying to think. Did we learn anything from Kevin? Did Kevin Potts say anything where I was like, fascinating?
Kevin needs a new microphone.
Yeah,
and he likes to hang out in the lobby.
Yeah, so when he was done, he just hung out in our lobby for like 5 minutes. Like, all right, man. I mean, hey, if you want to listen to the show, I don't blame you.
I think another thing, just to get you folks at home more oriented into the show, feel free to put in the comments or even call the show. Let us know what you learned today or what really stuck out to you, and that definitely lets us know that you're listening as well.
Yeah, I mean, because the way that without fail, it's 2:40. we're in a break, and Chris is like, Jonathan, what did you learn today? And we're throwing it all together, not last minute, but close to the last minute, which is okay. We fly by the seat of our pants a little bit, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it here on the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are back tomorrow, noon to 3. College football prediction week continues. I think I'm going to do... So, Chris, I don't know if you know this or not, but every year I've done a show before every football season. I do 3 big takes. So I'll do like 3 big college football takes in general. They're supposed to be a little spicier. And I'll do 3 big ones for Purdue and IU. We'll do those tomorrow as we continue to move towards week 0 and the Colts' third preseason game on Saturday. So 3 big takes tomorrow. Gonna try to land a Colts guy or 2 to come on and talk Anthony Richardson, Riley Leonard, and more. Show starts at noon. We will talk to you then. See ya.